What's going on, everybody out there in YouTube land? This is the 1122 Wingnut Radio out here for Anarchy Television. Well, I was just sitting in another stream's chat, and it has been good. I mean, it's been some really good conversation on taxation and like property tax and constitution and all this other good stuff. I mean, good conversations, and these kind of conversations need to happen more and more, honestly, because the more people understand this stuff, man, the more likely we can get out of this shit that we are in. And I'll be the first one to admit that it won't happen overnight. It's going to take a while. I mean, it's taken us a while to get where we are today, so it'll definitely take a while to get out of it. The DeSantis here in Florida talking about abolishing a property tax, and unfortunately, we got like I don't know 16 or so politicians here in Florida that are trying to muddy the water when it comes down to the property tax thing. Quite honestly, it just needs to be a simple, like 2 sentence fucking thing on the vote on it and all that stuff. You know, um, and people will sit there and ask, "So where are we going to get all the? Where are we going to keep on? Where are we going to get all the money that we use from property taxes to pay for all this other stuff?" It's like, well, you know, quite honestly, it would only eliminate, in my opinion, this is what needs to happen: eliminate property taxes for the people that live here. Um, you can still keep property taxes on businesses. All these freaking snowbirds that come down to Florida and don't live here, that have like a summer home here or whatever, you know, property taxes for those. And that's the revenue. And then on top of that, it would have to keep the government within their budget. They can't sit there and, you know, create all this damn debt and all this stuff, it's like hell, it's just like everybody else, you got to sit there and balance your checking account and all that other stuff and shit. What? How come? How come the fucking government can't do that? They can't fucking balance their own fucking checkbook. It's because they believe they have a unlimited amount of fucking funds in their bank account, dipping into our pockets. Property taxes, period, in my opinion, for people that live here. People, the place where you live, the place where you inhabit. That property taxes for that is unconstitutional, and that needs to stop. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't even be there in the first place. But you got all these crooked motherfuckers that get into government and and then coerce and compel and force people into paying this shit at the point of a government gun. Any taxation really at the point of a government gun is extortion. I don't care. It's flat out. It's robbery. It's armed robbery, actually. I don't care. If I was to do that, I can't go over to my neighbor and say, "Hey, because you live there, you got to pay me a fucking tax to live there." Well, that would because that would be robbery. That would be extortion. And just because government, does it doesn't mean it's not. They can call it whatever they want to call it. It's still fucking robbery. It's theft. But it's such a good conversation, y'all. What are you guys up to? What do you guys want to talk about? You guys want to talk about anything interesting? You guys want to talk about the Constitution? You guys want to talk about taxation? You guys want to talk about things like that? Some of the important things that affect all of us? I don't know. It is. I mean, private sector. I mean, seriously. I mean, even the roads, and stuff like that. Here in Florida, as far as I know, gas tax is what pays for roads. So, I mean, not even property taxes don't even pay for roads. Property taxes end up going to the fucking indoctrination fucking thing called schools. You know, I don't have kids in school and I'm not in school. So why should I pay for fucking my neighbor to be indoctrinated, at the fucking point of a government gun? And then even roads, it's like, goddamn, fucking private sectors, you can get the fucking roads done more efficiently and better than the fucking government can. Not only that, there would be different competition in the private sector to, for better service and get it done more efficiently and all this other good stuff. There'd be competition involved. You know, I mean, and then you can have like I don't know, kind of like a Yelp review type of thing on these private sector fucking things that are doing. It's like, well, you got this one private sector company doing these roads over there, and you didn't like what they did and how they did. You put a fucking your own you know kind of Yelp review on them and stuff like that. Next thing you know, some other company will come in there and say, "I can do it better than them." You know, you know, we can get it done faster. We can get it done better. The roads just stay maintenance free for longer. I hate this argument that some people sit there and say we got to have taxation, man. How will we pay for roads and all that stuff? Well, that to me is the same fucking argument of back in the day in the plantations. If we didn't have slaves, who would pick the cotton? To me, that's exactly the same fucking argument. I don't know. Like I said, I was over John Felix. He's one of the guys that put on the Autopalooza. He was over on the Raging Tomatoes panel, and they were having this big conversation on this stuff, man, and coming down to when it comes down to the Constitution and stuff like that. What's up, Indy? No worries, no worries, no worries. I appreciate it anyway. And it was nice. It's still going on right now. They haven't shut it down yet. I already had this set up for this time, so I had to dip out of there. But it's a good conversation. It's all about actually just getting back to the Constitution and living by the Constitution, and we got to force the government to actually do that. And the only problem is that the government's not abiding by the Constitution. It wipes its ass with the Constitution. Fucking it wipes its fucking ass, and there's no accountability. There's no enforcement to force the government into obeying the Constitution. There's no enforcement to punish the government not obeying the supreme law of the land. That's the problem. There's just no. We don't have our own enforcement. We the people. I mean, and honestly, man, it's getting worse and worse, man. You're getting these fucking communists, fucking, these goddamn fucking Zionists, these goddamn fucking Islamics and shit like that infiltrating and infecting America. And none of those fucking types of mentalities are good for America because it does nothing but strip more and more of our fucking natural rights away from us. Quite honestly, I think we need to ban those type of things from America. You know, all the Zionists, all the fucking Islamics, all the fucking communists and socialist fucking democracy bullshit. That shit just has no place in America because it does nothing but strip our natural rights away. And I mean, in my opinion, I think we need to go back to the gold standard. Quite honestly, this fiat currency, fucking, it was a scam and a Ponzi scheme from the get go. You know, thanks to all them fucking assholes back in 1913 in Jekyll Island, fucking scamming against us. These fucking banker fucks that just wanted to, become rich off of our backs. And now they're trying to go even further with that Ponzi scheme with the digital ID and the digital currency. It's nothing but that fucking that central banking cartels that want to be fucking the rulers of the fucking universe and living off of our backs, our labor. The $10,000 question is what do we do? What's up, Tate? $10,000 question is like, what do we do? Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do, and it's not going to happen overnight. And we cannot use the system that is in place to fight the system because the system is set and built against us from the get go. you know, um, there's a lot of countries out there that tried to do the good thing. I mean, hell, you even look at fucking Gaddafi. Gaddafi was doing some good shit. There's a lot of bad press on him, but man, I'm gonna tell you, man, there was a lot of things that he did in his country that were good for the people. And it was totally off of the petrodollar and all that stuff. You know, was it um I mean, I'm just using that for an example. But I mean, it's like all the leaders, all the people that were trying to lead people to freedom all through history, all through history. I mean, you can go thousands of years back into history, all through history. The people that are trying to lead people to freedom always got murdered. Quite honestly, in my opinion, we need to reverse that trend. You know, all the people that are trying to lead people away from freedom and away from that are the ones that need to bite the dust, in my opinion. I personally am sick and tired of it because there hasn't been a single politician in my lifetime, except for Ron Paul. Ron Paul, in my opinion, was the only, underdog, in my opinion, the only one that fought for the Constitution. I mean, every vote that he did was aligned with the Constitution. He was the only one, but the powers that should not be, they don't want him in there. That's the reason. Surprised they haven't tried killing him off yet, but still, they thought it was just easier just to kind of paint him like he's a fucking nutcase. And use the money against him. What's up, Backwoods? If anybody does want to come up on panel and sit back and chat, especially if I know you, um, I'm gonna go ahead and put the link in there now. But if anybody does, hit the link and come on up, because you know, I don't know. Like I said, it was a pretty good conversation, and then, like I said, it was still going on. You know, John Felix over there on the Raging Tomatoes and fucking over Sarah's fucking channel, having this nice deep conversation on constitution, taxation, and all this other good stuff. These to me are these are conversations that we need to talk about, and we need to have actual conversations about these type of things, because these are the things that actually affect all of us. They affect all of us. Unfortunately, we got too many fucking communists in this fucking country that want fucking socialism and all this other fucking democracy fucking bullshit. You know, quite honestly, man, I hate it when people say, "Oh, we live in a democratic republic." I'm like, no, we fucking don't. If you want to live in a democratic republic, go fucking live in China. That's what they call that, the Democratic Republic of China. Go live in fucking China if you want to live in a democratic fucking republic. That's not what America is. And I'm so sick and tired of this fucking bullshit that, there's some of the world leaders that think that, that we got to model ourselves after fucking China. That's why they're fucking pushing this digital currency and digital ID shit, because they see how it works over in China. So they're like, whoa, hell, we can do that here. I'm gonna tell you something, man. In my opinion, and I'm closer to an anarchist than anything, no. But the smaller the government is, the bigger the government really is. Because quite honestly, I think we just need to reduce it down to the bare fucking bones. Because I mean, honestly, I don't see any way of getting away from it. You know, I don't see any way of getting away from it, because there's so many fucking countries around the world that have governments. We got to have something, so we can defend ourselves from other governments around the world that want to take us over. So yeah, but we need to break it down to the fucking bare bones. You know, we need to fucking get rid of so much shit when it comes down to the government. There's so much shit. There's so many things in our life. There is not anything in our life that is not being taxed, or have to gain permission from the government to do. What's up, man?
What's up? How you doing, bro?
Well, this is like the first time you've ever been on my channel, man. I appreciate you coming over.
Well, I mean, maybe up on the panel, but
Yeah, up on panel. Yeah, up
I
on panel.
watched you when you was going to that, I don't know, some kind of meetup thing, man.
Yeah, that was the Autopalooza.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
Me and Joe Cool went out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of like a meetup. It was a lot of the First Amendment auditors, the cop watchers, and stuff like that.
Right.
On that movement, that type of stuff. Trying to do that like a yearly thing, kind of like annually.
Right.
It's just, I don't know. This past one was supposed to be the last one, but I mean, there's too many people that want to keep this going, so it might keep on going.
Right.
And it's a necessity thing too, because I mean, quite honestly, there are a lot of conversations that we cannot have online in the public realm. We got to have these conversations face to face. Some of these conversations, you know.
Man, I I don't know, man. What's up, Huckleberry? Here's the thing, dude. They all the surveillance that they've had, you can't do shit online without them already knowing it.
Yeah,
And it's just a matter of who's in power and who decides to dig up the information and say, well, look, here's all these people talking this shit. We're going to go after them. You know, and it's always back and forth. You know, the Dems get in there, they go after us. The Republicans get in there, and well, they sort of go after the Democrats, but they seem to just want to wag their finger a lot, man. And Huckleberry there says the only way to fix this government, it ain't gonna be pretty, and that's the whole point, man. Um, you know, I mean, within our Constitution, our laws, and everything, there is a such thing as seditious conspiracy, man. And I think that in any time in history, even more so than well, probably as much as Lincoln, at least, that Trump has a right to, you know, I mean, go in and just insurrection act. You know what I'm saying? Dude, you got all these rogue judges that have no jurisdiction whatsoever, but they're making these rulings, and Trump's like, okay, well, we'll play by that for a minute, and take it to the Supreme Court, yada yada. They've got multiple wins, but it's you see that, and then you see these people, ramming these ICE agents, man. Whether you agree with deportation or not, the whole fact of it is that damn, it's our law. You don't like the laws, then go in and help change it. But that's just the way it is. And there's a lot of shit I don't like. I think paying taxes like we do is a crime, man. I think they're stealing our dollars. They're literally stealing from us, man. It's socialism, and it needs to go away. I'm
yeah.
just
Well, I mean, I'll give you an example. For instance, all that the SNAP benefit and all that kind of stuff. That's totally unconstitutional. All right, all the all that kind of stuff. That is a socialist or type of program. It's not. It's unconstitutional. There's nothing in the Constitution that even authorizes that.
right.
All right, and that's just one aspect. Property taxes unconstitutional. It's not
Well,
even supposed to
well,
happen.
right. Well, see, here's one of the things, and me and you went back and forth on this, and we go back and forth on things, and a lot of things we agree on, and you know, I'm just saying, man, the whole thing about voting. I know it doesn't matter, but it does, and it's so hard to really describe, what it means, and it's just like what you said. It's nowhere in our Constitution, but who made them laws, man? Who made the law to, or the program? Who designed that? It was people that were voted in, man, representatives. And when you stop getting involved as a whole, that's when these snakes come in and they vote to steal all your fucking money, man. I mean, let's use this example, brother. The all this stuff with the Epstein files and stuff. We can talk about all that if you want to or whatever, but the main point of it is that they're pointing all these fingers at Trump, and yet Congress has a $17 million slush fund that they have paid out to sexual harassment. And then guess what they did? Well, they went in and voted. Well, nobody else needs to see this, but it's our tax-paying dollars. So this is why, as bad as you want to fight against it, as bad as you hate to think, well, you know, it's all rigged and yada yada. Well, yes, but we have to keep putting fighters in there. There are some members of Congress who are not bad, you know. I think they're all crooked in some way or another, but you know, I don't know, man. I just the stuff that I've been seeing online lately, that's why I've been really quiet on the internet, man. You know, not doing videos or not doing live streams or whatever is, man, the stuff I'm seeing all these Republicans or conservatives or, you know, the right side of the bird, they're all fighting amongst each other, man. They're fighting over the Epstein files. They're fighting over this Marjorie Taylor Greene bullshit, you know, and it's the Elon Musk, you know, there was people that was going back and forth over that shit, and now Elon and Trump are all buddies and shit. It, I don't know, man. I see a lot of negative shit coming from the right hand side that worries me, man. It really does. You know, I seen some people that's supposed to be big, strong conservatives earlier, and they're all like, "Well, I just, unfortunately, I see, you know, us losing the midterms and probably go ahead and lose the 2028 presidency." And I'm like, "What the fuck, man? I mean, we're 1 year into Trump's presidency. We still got 3 more years, man. You know what I mean? We got another practically pretty much a year before the midterms. A lot of stuff can happen in a year, man. Why such the negative attitude, man? And it's really got me bummed, dude. It really does. I don't know, man. You know, shit, dude.
Well, you know,
Go ahead.
well, no, I mean, you know, I've tried to say this before. And I probably said it to you once or twice before in the past. You know, when it comes down to, you know, and I don't want to, and it's kind of like this word I've used is hopium. You know,
Right,
so many people
right.
got all this hopium going on and stuff
Yep.
like that, and I think it's going to be a very detrimental and psychological crap in people's minds when that hopium bubble gets bursted. You know, you know, it's like, you know, people over there like, oh, I hope this, or I believe this, and all that kind of stuff. I have faith in this, and whatever that, and all that stuff is going to come crashing down. And next thing you know, how's that going to work on people's minds? You know, all this
Well,
like this idea of hopium and belief and stuff like that that you might have, for instance, or other people might have when it comes down to Trump or the government, for instance. Because I mean, you know, I have, you know, if he gets to, you know, keep going for the next 3 years or whatever, and then whatever else happens after the fact, you know, it doesn't pan out. It's like, okay, you know, what then? You know, where does your psychological shit? Where does your mindset sit? You know,
well, see,
when that bubble bursts, you know.
well, see the. I guess the struggle for me is I'm not, you know, I'm a little guy. We all know that online, you know, and I've met a lot of people, but man, I'm a fighter. I like to stand up. I want to butt heads, man. You know, with the opposition, and you know, I went and stood against BLM, Antifa. I've stood against the Ku Klux Klan, man. Like literally stood against these fucking people, like armed up, geared up, you know, full loadout to what 210 rounds, you know, of seven mags of 30 round mags, you know, AR strapped across my chest, man. I've been out there, dude, and like I want to fight. You know, it's like fuck, let's get this done, son. And man, I'm not getting any younger, brother. I'm 57 years old, bro.
Yeah,
And
I hear you. I hear you.
when I see all this shit going on, man, it's like, dude, y'all, man, you have to fight with every tooth and nail you got, man. And that means from voting, that means from getting out there in the polling locations, that means getting involved and standing up on the fucking street corner if that's what it takes, and be willing to bash heads with these people, man. You know, and people, it just, man. I just don't see it. I said, you know, that one time on Prepper Nation when we were doing the radioactive podcast, I pissed a lot of people off, and I said conservatives are pussies, man, and I meant that shit, and that's what I see is conservatism is a bunch of fucking pussies, man. I mean, you know, I'm a constitutionalist, brother. I'm an America first, you know, Second Amendment, gun toting patriot. You know what I mean? And it's like, fuck, let's rock and roll, man. Let's. Why are we, dude? They're putting mosque up in Texas and Dearborn, Michigan. They're
Yep.
they're doing. You know, you got people ramming ICE agents and shit with their vehicles, dude. And it's like, what? You know, what the fuck are we doing here, man? I
Yeah,
don't
New York got 9/11 happening, and they vote in a damn Islamic.
right? I mean, it's like, bro,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, no. I mean, quite honestly, man. I mean, I think the Zionists, the Islamics, the fucking the communist socialists, the Democrat, the democracy fucking people, man. I think all that is antithesis, is antithetical to America. That is not does not coincide with the American
it is 100% against America.
Yes, it is, and
Everything
that
they're
and
doing.
that and that needs to stop. I mean, it's infecting, and it's it needs to stop altogether. I mean, when it comes down to like the Dearborn, Michigan, and stuff like that, they're gonna try and oh, it's freedom of religion, it's the First Amendment, and all that stuff. Yeah. Well, no. I mean, yeah, you can live as Islamic if you want. It's just when that starts becoming policy, like Sharia law and all that stuff getting
Right.
enforced and stuff like that. That's where I have a problem with it.
Well, that's
You know,
what a lot of people are not understanding at this moment. You know, if you look back to the Crusades, man, you know, these Christians, you know, were slaughtering people over shit, you know, and they were wrong. And you know, they got wrong in some of the shit that they did, you know. And so that's when it becomes, you know, like when you base that off of America and like Sharia law, that's where it becomes wrong, you know, when you use your religion to kill people, you
yeah.
know. Yeah,
I mean,
and
they've done it in
you
many
don't
different
well,
countries too.
let me say it like this: if you use your religion to kill people because they don't convert to your religion, that's
Hmm.
wrong. You
Yep.
know, I mean, I guess you could say, you know, out of Christianity, you know, I'm a Christian, man, and I'm not a good Christian sometimes, but I try to be, you know, and so, and I don't push my religion on nobody, and I don't hate on nobody, you know. Hutch, he's like my brother, man. He's absolutely one of my best friends in this world, period. And you know, he practiced Islam, you know, but he don't do the radical shit. You know what I mean? He believes in America. He's an American, but he does, you know, he done that. I don't know how to say it correctly, you know, with the Muslim faith. But there's a lot of them that they just want to be left alone like the rest of us, you know. Let me practice my little faith over here. I ain't trying to impose no bullshit on nobody. I just want to be left alone, kind of thing. And man, at some point, people are going to have to stand the fuck up, or we're going to lose this country. It is teetering right now.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this before. Political, corporate, and religious dogma is what is killing life on this planet. I mean, and it goes broadly to almost all of them. You know,
Right.
and I have my own thoughts on certain things. I don't try and push that on people because my views are not necessarily popular.
Well,
But it's the same thing with like the voting scenario. I look at it as it's it falls in the definition of insanity. It's
Right.
doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's
But
what voting is. It's
but see,
insanity.
look at how honestly me and you adult. You know what I'm saying? We have different viewpoints.
Yeah, I'm not
But,
gonna
but
I'm not gonna sit there and try and kill you over it. You know,
exactly.
that's the difference between, like, for instance, okay, that's the difference between like people like me or like you and the government. The government is willing to murder us over their beliefs. Are we willing to murder them over ours?
Well, it depends.
Well,
um,
I know self-defense can be very violent and violence can be used for good.
right.
But, you look at it like any game, like a football game or a chess game, you cannot win the game in only defensive mode. You
Right.
have to have an offensive mode.
Exactly. And that's kind of my whole point, man.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, you and I, like I said, man, you've been backstage with us. We've hung out, you know,
Well,
before.
I know we've known each other. We've talked to each other online since like what 5 or 6, probably 5 or so years or something like that.
At least five,
Since
at least
back in the day
5 years.
with Ron. You
And
know.
and that's the whole thing is that, but we know how to adult, man. We know how to be the big people in the room and say, look, I disagree with that. I'll argue my point. You disagree. You'll argue your point. And later on, it's all good, man. You go live and bam, here I am on your panel. And I'm not on. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah. No,
it's really
I get that, and I appreciate that about people. I mean, it's like, that was the thing too. Like just a little while ago, before I went live, I wasn't on the panel, but I was in the chat. But there's a guy, one of the guys that put on the Autopalooza thing, John Felix, was over on Sarah's panel, which is Raging Tomatoes,
I
and they
know.
had a bunch of people over there talking about Constitution and taxation and stuff like that. It was really getting into a good conversation, and there was a couple of people out there that that really couldn't handle the debate. They get all into their feels, you know what I mean? And then they
Well,
can't they can't even argue their own position. You know what I'm
I
saying?
watch I watch Sarah at Raging Tomato. I watch Crucible with Andrew. I watch
Right.
Bob Noor.
Yeah.
I enjoy
I have
watching them.
disagreements with fucking Andrew too,
Me
because
too.
I hate the idea that he says there's no such thing as rights. I hate that idea.
Yeah,
His
I
viewpoint on that.
yeah, I've never. I mean, it's really funny because when I first heard him say that, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? And I understand his argument, but I don't agree
Right.
necessarily with it. You see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
understand where he's trying to come from, and it's is a right. What gives you that right? And he goes into talking about by things by force and stuff like that, and it's like, well,
Right.
I mean, I get it because my right to walk down the road unaccosted is my fucking right, but if I'm not willing to defend that right, then is it really a right? You see
Well,
what I mean?
I'll also go a different direction. It's like, okay, if their rights don't exist, why is there so many people around the world trying to take them away?
Good point.
I
That's
mean, if they
that's a
don't
very good.
exist, why would anybody even want to even bother trying to take them away? You know? Um,
Yeah, John. Yeah, man. Anarchy. He's anarchy, man. You know that this dude is well, he's an anarchist, man. He just kind of
well,
that
I mean,
way. But
I lean toward the anarchist type of viewpoint, because I mean, I don't see any legitimacy in government at all.
right,
You know what I mean? But I in this day and age, in this world that we live in, I understand that we might have to have some part of a government, because I mean, honestly, if we were to
yes,
go by the Constitution, I think the whole purpose of of the government is to protect and ensure our natural rights and to defend our nation. That is basically it. That's
right,
what I mean. I think that's their only job of government. The government's job is not to feed the homeless. Government's job is not to fucking, to give us free health care and all this. It's not that. That's not the government's job.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just goes, it goes way beyond.
No, I
what
agree 100.
it's so,
I agree
you know,
1,000%, brother. Yeah, Razor Fist. I was watching Razor Fist earlier. Actually, he was live. Yeah, I've been watching Razor Fist for a long time, man. He's man, he's something else, brother. He makes me grin, man. I'm just gonna say it like that. And he's like at the end, he's like, God fucking speed. You know.
well, I mean, there's a lot of people out there. Like I said, I mean, there's a lot of people that have different viewpoints, and I listen. I observe and I listen to a lot of stuff out there.
Right.
I'm all over YouTube. I've been on YouTube for a long time.
Me too.
You know what I mean? And I listen to a lot of stuff. I mean, and I have agreements and disagreements with a lot of different people and stuff like that. And there are times I've had, I guess, conversations, or they get into debates, and sometimes they get into heat arguments. You know what I mean? But it just depends on the character that I'm talking with. If we can keep this as civil, you know what I'm saying? I guess you would call it, or
Yeah.
cordial.
Well, and the whole thing about the government and their role, man, is I truly believe that we need an established government for foreign stuff, and for my biggest thing is interstate commerce. And
Well,
I believe that the government only should have their hand in it, in as so much so as to go, hey, wait a minute, you can't cheat them like that. You're going to have to back off that. And that's cool. The only other thing, man, really is, I mean, this whole financial, all right, so the House, being the power of the purse, man, it's, I don't like that they're able to vote to send, millions of dollars to Israel, to Ukraine. I
yeah.
think that should be voted on by the people. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
I tell you
think,
this. I'll just go on that. Okay, when I was saying, like, healthcare, for instance. All
right,
right. Why should we pay Israel so much money so they have free healthcare and we don't even have it here?
right.
You know what I mean? I mean, hell,
No, I'm all
you
against.
think about all these bombs that get dropped off in all these other different countries. Just one of those bombs could fucking build fucking 3 hospitals. You know what I mean?
I'm against sending all this money to Israel, man, because I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, I'm Christian and all that, and I understand. God says not to go against Israel, but I don't believe the people that are in Israel right now are God's chosen people.
No, there's a difference between the Jews and Zionists, though.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? All right. And Jew is a religion, and Zionism is a nationality or nationalism.
Well, listen, if Israel, if God's people were running it, they would not allow any of the gay or transgender. They would not allow a lot of the stuff that they allow over there.
Yeah, they're not an ally of the American people anyway.
No,
I'm gonna tell you straight up. They might be an ally of the corporation posing as our government right now, but they're not the ally of the American people. They don't recognize our natural rights. They don't recognize our natural right to freedom of speech or freedom of religion, or even our Second Amendment right or our Fourth Amendment right. They don't recognize those as legitimate, so they're not our ally.
I agree. I agree.
And same thing with Ukraine. These are a bunch of fucking Nazis that live in Ukraine. They're not our ally, man.
That Azov battalion, man, it's like they literally wear a Nazi flag, and it's like you got all these people pointing fingers at MAGA and Trump supporters and yada yada, and going, y'all are Nazis. And then, by the way, while we're calling you Nazis, let's go ahead and vote to send $50 million over to Ukraine.
Right.
To the Azov battalion, who are literally fucking Nazis. And I'm like, yeah, dude. I don't.
I know. I used to know people in Tennessee that were Ukrainian, and they were Nazis. I mean, they were legitimate Nazis, right? Well, but that's the thing is, like, you get all this the CIA propaganda, mainstream news filling us full of this fucking bullshit. And, programming people with all this fucking stupid fucking information is programming, it's, and that's even worse now because of when Obama, repealed that one law that actually prohibited propagation of propaganda to the American people on American soil. Now it's legal, you know, so they, but
Well,
it drives me nuts because I mean, seriously, I mean, you know, there is not one country
so
around the world, not one country around the world that taxes the crap out of their citizens to give money to American people. Not one,
so
you know.
let me let me go on a little deep subject here, man. Let's ride the let's take a look down the rabbit hole. So you got so you got let's go to Q, okay? I'm not a Q follower,
Okay.
but I pay attention. You know what I mean? I look at shit that Q has said and I'm like, that's fucking interesting. Now, Q said we're saving Israel for last. And what do you think about Trump buddying up, partnering up with Saudi Arabia? Because that would, I mean, kind of be like going against Israel.
Well, we get a lot of our oil from Saudi Arabia, also.
Right. Right.
So there's that.
Yeah,
You got,
but Trump is literally, um, doing the, um, he's getting the oil, like drill baby drill. He's driving the oil prices down, which is not a good thing for Saudi Arabia.
well, I mean, I don't know. I still see
That's
three,
where
four
they make.
dollars a gallon over here, and there's almost like $4 or $5 a gallon for diesel. I mean, I don't
What?
really see the
Where are
prices
you
of gas
living?
going down.
Where are you living at?
Florida. I mean, I'm sitting there. I'm looking at $3, almost $3 to $4 a gallon for regular gas.
Are you serious, dude?
Yeah, yeah.
Man, here in Arkansas, man, good old boy state, our gas was 265 about a week ago, and it's went down to 250.
You would think it would be less here, and I'm right on the fucking coast. You know what I mean? You're inland. You would think it would be more expensive inland. You know what I mean? But no, I'm right here on the coast. I mean, shit, this is like, I'm like, fuck. I mean,
Yeah,
um,
but that's kind of the whole point. You're on the coast, man, where everything is happening, man. That's where all the big money is.
that's also where
You
all of
can't
it comes in. You know
you
what I
can't
mean?
be a small feller such as us, money wise, to be trying to play around where the big boys live, man. That's why you move out somewhere and get away from the big boys, and you start paying a whole lot less for things, man. I've got a 2-story, 3-bedroom house, and we've got a 20 by 32 room built on the back of it, a shop building built here, and my place, um, my my house payment's like 800 a month, man, and that's not that bad. It's pretty easy to come up with 800 here, and I don't know, gas is not that bad. Food's a little expensive still yet, man. And I think Trump is fine. A lot of people are pissed off at Trump about the food and shit. And it's like, well, god dang, man, we just come out of a fucking 9% inflation rate, and COVID prices. He froze up. Boy, is he really in trouble now because he let me on his panel by myself. Y'all know, any of y'all that know me, man, and maybe y'all don't, but I say what I feel and feel what I say, man. It's just all it is to it. But you know, the thing about it is, man, when you start getting, I think that Trump has went in, and what he's done, man, is went and he had some certain things that he really wanted to get done right away. And so I think he wanted to get them things done, and now it looks like he's going to start kind of what? Pray to Allah, are you beheaded? So when you look at what's going on, man, I think Trump is starting to focus inward now, and he's done the thing. And it's so funny because people's like, tariffs are taxes. Well, of course they are. And it's like, well, yeah. I mean, of course they're going to be, because the people that are getting tariffed are going to add a little bit to their product, to try to recover some of the money. But the thing about it is that then they pay us, where taxes, when these Democrats start talking about, oh man, we're going to do this corporate rate, right? And we're going to raise the corporate rate. Well, I mean, do you think these corporations are going to go out there and go, well, shucks, guys, well, they taxed us more, so I guess we just got to eat that? No, they're going to turn around and they're going to fucking they're going to raise their product, which it's all like, the same thing.
All right, am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Fucking powers that should not be are trying to shut me down, man. We start
Man,
talking about some important shit. You know what I mean?
I said all the keywords, man, to try,
I don't know. It was probably, that's just the way it is for me, though. I mean, I
Well,
don't know. It's like I start talking about important stuff. Next thing you know, they're trying to shut me down.
well,
Fuck up.
the way I look at it is that, it's a. I mean, when you got kicked off, I was representing Anarchy Television, man. So I kind of went anarchist. I had to represent properly, brother.
Right on. Yeah, like, share, and subscribe, man.
Right,
All that big YouTuber shit. You know what I mean? Hell yeah.
right. The missioner says, "Blow me."
Yeah, I don't know what.
Missioner, hey, real talk. 616, are you gay? I'm just asking, are you gay, man? Because I mean, you're literally in the chat with two dudes on the panel, and you're wanting a blowjob, man. Are you gay? I mean, I'm not gonna like if you're gay, that's cool, man. That's you, man. But I'm just saying, I mean, why not just be honest about it? This is 2025, man. Rip me, what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I think it's the same one. The missioner, whatever, has written 6616. You sound gay, right? Yeah, well, I mean, hey, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
What are you gendering, or no? What is it?
Misgendering?
Misgendering? Yeah. Are you sexting me?
Hell yeah. Fucking, it's like, so, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I get some crazies in there sometimes too.
Ah, man, hey, I don't choose the numbers.
Well, I'll tell you this, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you this. It's like, if you ain't got a few haters or a few trolls out there, you ain't doing anything right. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, I'm not a gay hater. I have a gay friend.
Well,
Are you trying to shame me? No, I mean, no. Why would I want to shame you, man? This is not Anarchy Television. This is actually Love Radio. Get the fuck out of here. See, one thing I always have liked about Anarchy Television is I kind of like some anarchy, man. I really do. And you know what I'm saying? Just in the way of my lifestyle, man. I tried like hell, dude. Sometimes it man, I love my old lady, man, and we're best friends still to this day. 21 years we've been married, and we're still best friends, man. We have a good time and shit. And you know, last year we had to pay a lot of money in taxes, man, because of Joe Biden. And you know, when they told me at the end of the year what I had to pay, it was $7,500, man. And I looked at them and I was like, we paid over 20 grand in taxes this year. And it's like, yeah, but you still owe this much. And I'm like, is there a place on that piece of paper right there to say, fuck you? I'm not paying it. And my wife looks at me and that lady's like, you know, my wife's like, well,
All right.
you know, don't talk like that, you know. And I'm like, no, I mean, fuck these people, man.
Well,
I'm
see,
sick
that's
of this shit, dude.
well, that was one of the things that we were talking about earlier about when it comes down to like income tax, for instance. All right, whatever, all that kind of stuff. All right, when it comes down to the tax code, it's a voluntary taxation is voluntary. All right, and according to the tax code. All right, and when it comes down to constitutional taxation, all right, it should only it's only on gains, basically. Like for instance, like if I was to work for somebody,
Mhm.
all right, and I got a wage, all right, that's an even trade, all right. That is not supposed to be taxed. That's unconstitutional to tax that, all
Right.
right. Now, if I was to, like for instance, like if I was to um, like I don't know, if I had like $5 and I invested it and I made $10, well, they can tax me on that gain, which that profit that I made off of that. That if I made $10 off that $5, they tax me on that profit I made. All right, that's the constitutional taxation. All right,
Right. Well,
but
that's go ahead.
no, I'm just saying it's like, but they've screwed us thinking, it's like that even trade scenario, and then screwed us into thinking that they can tax that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Same thing with like property taxes. All right, that's unconstitutional because that's where I live. You know what I mean? I'm not. It's not my business. Like for instance, that's one thing I have that when it comes down to DeSantis talking about ending property taxes here in Florida. Now, they will not lose all their revenue. They would still gain revenue if they would go constitutionally, just tax the businesses and tax the like the snowbirds that come from fucking Canada that come down here to like summer home down here that don't live here, you know, tax them. That's the property taxes that they can still impose. You know what I mean? But for the people that live here that just live in their home, that property tax needs to be abolished because it's unconstitutional. That's not a constitutional tax. you
Right.
know and then on top of that, it's like it's like, okay, it's, oh, how will we pay for this and that, or whatever, because here in Florida, property taxes pay for schools, for instance.
Right.
All right, but I don't have any kids in school. I'm not in school, so why am I paying for something I have no dog in that hunt? You know what I mean? I
Well,
don't really, and I don't really want to pay for the indoctrination of my neighbors' kids, in
right.
the schools.
But see, there again, though, that falls back under that voting thing, and that falls back under getting involved. You
Well,
know,
see,
um,
that's one
hold
of the
on.
things.
Well,
Go
hold
ahead.
on, real quick. As a property owner, man, and paying taxes and stuff, I think that your local school, I think you should be involved in it. I think you should be concerned with um, who's running the school, who's making decisions, because it does affect you in some way or another. Because what happens is they grow up a whole bunch of socialists, and then a bunch of them socialists never move away, and they grow up next to you,
Well, that's
and
what
then
I'm
all
saying.
of a sudden You're
That's why I don't want to pay property taxes when it comes down to, sending my neighbor's kids to the indoctrination thing called school. I don't want to pay for that. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to have my neighbor's kids growing up in this indoctrination as just being obedient workers. You know what I mean? Why should I be being forced at the point of a government gun to pay for that? You know
right.
what I'm
No, I,
saying?
I don't disagree, but that's what I'm saying. Unfortunately, you're in the system that you are, and getting involved is how you make changes.
Well,
And
okay.
until you get involved, you're never going to make changes. All you're going to do is see what everybody else that did get involved decided for you.
Well, I'll tell you this. Like here in Florida, when it comes down to, okay, DeSantis is talking about this stuff, but there's unfortunately we got like 16 politicians or something like that here in Florida that are trying to muddy the waters, and
Right.
they've got like and they instead of having just one like 2 sentence fucking thing on property taxes on the voting and all that stuff here in Florida, they've got like 16 different fucking versions of it, and they've got it down to where they there's 16 different versions of this shit, and so nothing ever gets passed because there's never a majority count or whatever on that scenario. The only way DeSantis by himself can do something is amending the Florida Constitution, all right, and making it like statewide altogether. And just bypassing all those other politicians here in Florida and saying, fuck them, we're just going to do this statewide, and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I mean, that's what he needs to do, honestly, in my opinion. But the further south you go down in Florida, it seems like you're fucking in Yankee land. There's all kinds of fucking people from New York and California that move down South Florida. And that's what it's mostly down in South Florida is all them fucking Yankees. And they bring all that stupid shit that they brought from fucking New York and California down here with them. It's like, I don't want them fucking bringing, New York in my fucking Florida. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
No, I completely agree, man. But again, see, there's another problem once again is that New Yorkers come down here and then they're too stupid. It's really funny because you get like, let's say New York or you get, people in California and they think, oh, look, we're some kind of special fucking people and how, we got a lot of money. So we're really fucking smart. And it's like, oh shit, we found ourselves with a communist socialist mayor. And so now we're going to run to this other state over here, but then they're not smart enough to go, all the shit I was voting for before, that's what got me in that situation. So if I go down here and, I vote different, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I don't have to go through this shit again, but they're not smart enough for that. And it's like, man, even a simple old fucking country boy that barely graduated high school. In fact, the only reason why I graduated high school was because the principal who was handing out the diplomas the day I walked the stage, he said, you actually never passed. He said, I just wanted to tell you this because you caused me so much terror. He said, I wanted to let you know you didn't pass. I started to hold you back a year, but then I thought, no, I don't really want to deal with you, so I'm giving you your diploma. You know what I mean? So I didn't even pass the 12th grade, but I can understand these concepts. You know what I mean? It don't take a Harvard fucking scientist, to understand things that are going on. It don't take, a Harvard graduate to understand that, that giving all your money away to people and while promoting, let's go over here and teach these kids to hate America and we'll just give them money. You start to dwindle down the actual people that's making money. And then they go, well, guess what? We're going to throw in some immigrants in here. And even Trump's doing it, man. And I'm like,
yeah,
that shit he said the other day, man, that pissed me off bad, man, with the H-1B visas and, America's not got enough talent. Well,
right.
you know, it's like one of them deals where, yeah, actually we do. The problem is I know you're trying to do something about the school system with Linda McMahon, but you need to get way more fucking aggressive. You know, they they've been teaching these kids this shit for 20 years. So you're not going to fix it overnight. So you need to get way aggressive to make a complete 360. Well, 180, I should say. You know, to do a 180 and start teaching these kids about loving America, about you know, um, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. We've made mistakes, but we always try to fix them. So
Well, I mean, that was another thing too. I was sitting there and talking. What was that? About like, for instance, like you talk about all right. Uh, I've worked. I did construction for 20 some odd years. All right, I've done a lot of different jobs, but I did that for the most part. I did
did
construction.
you ever smash your thumb? Did you ever smash your thumb with a hammer?
Yeah, I did that in the winter time too. Yeah, it's even worse.
All right, go ahead.
But you know, but the thing is, it's like I know a lot of people that have that have been in different jobs. Like for instance, I know this guy Joe. He's been a welder, and fabricator and all this kind of stuff. Worked in shipyards and shit like that. He's got a lot of knowledge in that stuff. But the only problem is that now, like what you were talking about with Trump bringing those people in and stuff like that, talking about bringing in people from other countries that have, to, teach us how to do shit, that kind of stuff or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck? We got workers now that know how to do this stuff, but they don't really have the chance or the opportunity to get higher up into the
You,
skills or into the trades
you want me to tell
because
you?
you're
You want me,
bringing all these fucking foreigners in here to take those jobs.
you, want, you want me to tell you something about that? They bring
Go
in
ahead.
all these foreigners to do these jobs, correct? And they always say, well, we're bringing them in to do these jobs that Americans won't do. And it's like,
That's just not true.
so
Yeah.
how, okay, right. But it's like, well, so how did we do that before we started bringing in all these foreigners?
Exactly. I mean, and that's another thing too. Is like it just keeps the people that actually could be like in those supervisor type positions or stuff like that or whatever, keeps them on the goddamn job
Right.
doing majority of the work instead of putting them in those big supervisor jobs, making more money and making and doing the jobs better and stuff. Now you're just getting foreigners to come in here and do that instead. And oh my God, it just pisses me off because I mean, honestly, now I haven't worked construction in a while, but I mean, now if I was to go, which, the way I used to get jobs back when I was younger, was I'd just go onto a job site with my nail bag and I'd probably have that job that day.
Right.
Today, now, if I try, I can't do that now. Not only that, I'd have to learn a fucking second language.
Right.
You know what I mean? I need to learn fucking Spanish or Portuguese or something like that to work on these damn construction sites now. And that just pisses me off too, because most of these people that they don't know. I mean, seriously, man, the houses that are getting built today are fucking crap. I mean, fucking crap. And it's mostly all these fucking Hondurans and fucking Mexicans and fucking South Americans coming in here and doing it. And they can't do this shit fucking worth of crap. I mean, I've seen the fucking work. It's like these motherfuckers are lucky I'm not like an inspector because I walk into a job site now. I see all kinds of shit. I see all kinds. I'm like, dude, there's this and that. That's all missing. That truss wasn't nailed right or whatever. You know, um, but that's just passing along because these developers don't give a shit. Quite honestly, here in Florida, that's the most invasive species here in Florida is the fucking developer.
Right.
And it's destroying the natural fucking Florida that drew so many people here. You know what I mean?
Well, uh,
And
see what,
every inch is getting developed with this fucking crap, fucking housing developments and apartment complexes and fucking shit like that.
well, and another thing that gets me, man, is that, people talk about Oh man, I don't know these whatever gin, whatever they are. I don't even try to keep up with all that shit. It's these all these names and genders and fucking Gen this and Gen Z and Gen X and Gen, you know, it's like fuck, man. Why can't we just go back to a simpler life, man? And but what a lot of these younger ones that are screaming and crying on the internets, man, I can't afford a house, I can't afford this, I can't afford that, and the dream is gone, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, and then you go and flip through a little bit of their content, and you see them over there going, I fucking hate ICE, man. We need to be friendly to all these illegals. And it's like, you're not understanding that that's what's causing you to not be able to afford to fucking live. We're
Well,
giving everything away to these fucking people, man.
yeah, and I'll tell you this: I'm 51 years old, backwoods. I will not be able to retire. I don't have anything to retire on. You know what I mean? I've got nothing. And I'm already 51 years old, man. And I can just already see, some of these young kids, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about because they haven't lived long enough with enough life experience to really know what the fuck's going on in the first place. I mean, I could just imagine what they're going to be talking about in 20 years from now,
And
dude.
and here is why. Well, what you're saying right there. Why I have these two things. First off, repeal the 19th, and well, I mean, we can just
Well,
start off with that, man.
the
If we
19th, the 13th, and the 16th also. Yeah, I would agree.
Well, if you repealed the 19th right off the bat, man, we would a lot of problems would go away, man. Malcolm X famously said, "You hear that? It's raining like a motherfucker here, man."
I was wondering, I wasn't sure if you were in the car or not. I hear it.
No, it's raining like a motherfucker, dude.
Yeah.
And which is good. I love rain, man. Water is the key to life, brother. Always remember that. Water
Yeah.
is the key to life.
We're
But
not
yeah,
expecting any rain until like Tuesday or something, though.
all these, these Malcolm X said that the liberal white woman was a scourge, basically, and he was correct.
Well, that's
Liberal white women, man, are a scourge.
well, that was the majority of the people that voted. What's his name in New York was the liberal white woman.
Yeah,
If you actually look at the statistics on who voted them in, it was liberal white women. Yeah.
yeah, you know that chick Virginia Roots,
Yeah.
man. I
Yeah.
mean, like she should just only be kitchen
I love that
material.
girl. She's
I do,
definitely one
I
of the
do
cool
too.
kids, man.
I do
Yeah.
too. She's my sis, man. Damn, it's raining like a motherfucker.
Well, hopefully you won't get a whole lot of like thunder and lightning and stuff like that. But rain is good. I mean, like I said, we ain't gonna have any rain until about Tuesday, and probably gonna get out here and fucking mow some more. I'm actually, man, I'm nursing. My legs are actually, man, for like 3 days out there bush hogging some shit down there by the pond out here on the property, and I got fucking ate up with chiggers. Fucking, I got chiggers all the way up from my ankles all the way up to my knees, man. Fucking ate the fuck out of me. But that was my fault, though. I guess I didn't spray myself when I was out there doing that shit. But
About another this heavy rain should last about another 5 or 6 minutes. It should. It should. Yeah. See, it's already starting to slack off.
well, I mean, for you, it's good business, though, isn't it?
Well, I mean, not during the winter time, man. The grass don't grow, man.
Oh, that's right. You're up a little bit northern than me because I'm going to tell you, man. I'm going to tell you, it's like if we get a little rain over here, we're going to be out here mowing again.
Shit, I wish it was like that here.
Shit, it's like a year-round fucking thing over here, man. I'm going to tell you, it's like and it's a constantly every fucking week. I'm out here fucking doing something. You know, dude, I was sitting there, I was looking, and matter of fact, you talk about like lawn care shit. I saw a cool little attachment on those zero turn type mowers.
Right.
I saw this cool attachment that you can attached to the deck of your fucking mower that has like it's like a weed whacker that attaches to the side of your fucking deck of your mower, and you can just lower it down and shit like that. You don't even have to get off the fucking mower to weed whack.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's a slick looking deal there.
I've got
Yeah.
a zero turn. I've got a Gravely Pro turn.
Yeah, my uncle's got one of those grasshoppers, man. And you know, I was like, man, that would be perfect to go around these trees and around the fence line and stuff like that. You know, with that little attachment to it. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that damn mower cost me like $8,500, man.
Oh, did you buy it new?
Yeah.
Oh, I was about to say.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, I wanted something that was new that I could make a lot of money with. It's damn near paid for, man, since I started my
I was about
business.
to say you can probably find a cheap. You can probably find a used one for like 3 or 4 grand or something like that.
Yeah, but you know, somebody runs one low on oil. I check my oil every day. Damn, give me a second here.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, you know, because you know, my uncle does a lot of stuff out here, and I do a lot of stuff out here with him and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of property out here we got, and you know, with a bunch, you know, because there's so many family members that have property out here, all connected together. So there's always something, you know. And my uncle, he's the type of guy, he likes to have it to look like a state park or a fucking golf course type, you know, look. So everything's fucking manicured. Every fucking tree gets touched. All the grass is cut, you know, and and when it gets cool, when this weather gets a little cooler, he's wanting to do some bush hogging around the ponds and stuff like that. And I'm just not looking forward to it. But he's got this plan in his mind, and
Rip,
so
Rip. Yes, you are talking to yourself again. The voices that you are hearing right now are only just imagination. It is a construct of your mind of the things that you have seen throughout history. And it's coming back now. And, well, you're having one of them moments, man, where in reality, you're really not on YouTube watching Anarchy television.
no.
The space time continuum got you in a loop, man. And it's bringing back old memories. See, you actually are watching us in the future, but this is really from a year and a half ago.
No, no. We're living in another dimension. Man, I've been having some fucking really fucking crazy dreams lately, man. I'm gonna tell you.
Dude, it is pouring down over here, brother.
You ain't getting any lightning over there, are you?
Nah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good thing.
Nah, it's just rain.
That's one of the things about here where I'm at. I'm in the panhandle of Florida. So, I mean, you know, this is the lightning capital of the world. We got more lightning strikes per capita than anywhere in the world here. So that's one thing that I got to worry about every time it fucking starts storming is fucking the lightning, you know. And me being a radio guy, I always got to think about, um, you know, lightning hit my antenna and stuff. Shelly, what's up, Shelly? What's going on? How you doing? Good to see you in there, girl. Yeah. And yeah, so I always got to think about fucking lightning around here.
Dude. Craziness. I love it.
Well, I mean, how cold is it over there right now? How cold has it been getting anyway?
It's only been getting down to about 60 degrees. Like
Well,
it's 60 right now.
that's cold to me. If it gets below 60, I'm fucking shivering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of cold natured, man. I always have been. I love the cold weather, man, but I'm cold natured. I get cold real easy. I mean, it's a bitch sitting out there on that deer stand, and it's 20 degrees outside, and the north wind is hitting you right in the face, man. A 10-mile-an-hour wind. It's a motherfucker to sit out there, bro.
Have you gotten anything yet?
Yeah, I got an 8 point. We
Right
still
on.
got we still got I don't know what till after Thanksgiving um this weekend, and then we have another 3-day hunt, and then another 3-day hunt. So I've still got about 9-10 days left I can hunt.
Right on.
I mean,
Yeah.
deer
Yeah.
season's on right now. I could go hunting in the morning, man, but
Yeah.
I've got other shit I got to get done.
Yeah. Yeah. My uncle, man, he's getting the stand out there and ready, and we've had the deer feeder out there for a couple of months, getting them kind of primed and ready, and definitely had some deer walking around out there, but they're all nocturnal over here, man. Everything's fucking at nighttime, man. I hardly ever see them during the daytime anymore. You know?
You know, you know, like I'm really actually building a community over here, right? Like
Okay.
like a real community. You remember Bug Out Bushido?
Yeah. Did he move, or is he still down here in Florida?
No, he's about 20 minutes from me.
No shit.
You remember
I mean,
Milkmaid?
yeah.
She's about 30 minutes from me.
Well, that's not too bad. I'm gonna tell you, man. And that's one thing that you know, that's one thing that I've noticed about a lot of people that are like-minded. We all end up being we're divided geographically. I don't really
Like,
have a lot of people. I mean, there's one guy that lives not that far away from me. He's on YouTube. Was it um, Joe from oh shit, what's the damn channel name? I'll think of it in a minute.
walks three
Um,
walks with three-legged or something, walks with a limp or some shit, or walks with a cane.
no, he used was it Survival Living? He goes by
Oh,
Survival Living now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's actually from down there down toward Orlando where I used to live, and now he lives up here, which is probably like 30 minutes away from me right now. And you know, and he's like the only one that's close by.
Well, have you went and seen him?
Yeah, we've hung out a couple of times. There was one time, man, I had a car that I couldn't get running and stuff like that. And he came up here to help me trying to get it running and stuff like that. And you
Yeah,
know,
I've been on the panel with him several times.
yeah, yeah, he lives, like I said, probably like about 30 some odd minutes away from me. And
Well, like real talk with our group, and like we're just helping each other out. They came over and helped me tear down an old building out in the backyard there,
yeah,
and then they come over and help me. We're actually building one right now. We went over to Milks and we're building some rabbit hutches, and we've been over to Bug Outs and we've helped them get moved in. We're doing some we're working on a workout room. I've got a big weight bench over here, and he's got some. And like I gave him pretty much a whole deer except for the tenderloin back straps, and I gave them a whole deer and they canned it up. And you know what I'm saying? We're like, we went to and bought some rice and beans, and we vacuum sealed them, Mylar bags and shit, oxygen absorbers, the works. I mean, we're like really like helping each other and doing the thing, man.
how is Bug Out, man? I hadn't heard a whole lot from him in a while. So I mean,
Oh, he's good, man.
Yeah, because I mean, I knew he was going to move, but I didn't know he was already moved out there yet. So that's cool.
Yeah, man, I'm actually going over to his house tomorrow to help him get something accomplished. We got to move a couch, man, from
Is,
his house to his mom's new house.
is he still sewing? Is he still doing stuff,
Oh,
making stuff? Yeah,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. As soon as deer season gets over, because I'm trying to hunt every chance I get. I'd I'd like I'd at least like to get 3 more deer, if not 4. I'm allowed 6, and I've already killed 1. So if I can get at least 3 more, and I'll have plenty of deer meat for me and my children, and then we'll have enough. I'll have enough to split with them. And get them some deer meat too for the winter time. And we're just you know but yeah, I'm as soon as kind of deer season is over with, I'm gonna start going over there and learning how to sew with him, man. We're gonna start building shit.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, it's a good skill to learn. I'm telling you backwards. I mean, I do a little bit myself, so I mean, it's definitely a good skill to learn. Um, you know, um, I haven't really been making a lot of money off of it. I mean, Snooks actually, she bought a leather wall. Well, it wasn't a wallet; it was like a checkbook type of thing
Right.
that I made, and I'm trying to sell some of my wallets that I've been making and stuff. And I need to build me a sheath for this knife that I carry on me, on my like a fixed blade knife that I carry on me all the time. I
Right.
need to build one. And I think a lot of people didn't even know I did all that stuff. And man, I was like, well, shit, I'm gonna start doing some live streams and me building some of that shit just so I can
Yeah,
sell it off. You know?
I do some
You know?
leather work. I've got a whole bunch of leather work and shit over there, and we want to do kydex and shit like that. I mean, yeah. Real quick, John and Rip, man, appreciate it, and it's much appreciated, man. I hope y'all do well in all your adventures, man. And that's one of the things that I think is missing in society, man. Is we should be hoping each other succeeds, man, because it's kind of like what I've been saying a long time about this prepping thing. And I'm like, the more people we get prepped, the less we have to worry about if shit ever goes sideways. And
Well,
and
yeah, yeah,
it's the same thing when it comes to just simply wishing the best on for each other, instead of trying to be divided and going against each other. If we would just be like, hey, we got some differences of opinion, but we all have the same goal. Every single person on this planet has the same goal, and that is to survive and live. And how
and
you
be
choose to
free.
live is long. Well, the whole situation of, hey, I'm going to decide that I'm they them today, and you must comply completely, or I'm just going to flip out and call you names. Well, that's some bullshit, man.
Yeah,
Uh, you
yeah.
know, I mean, I'm just saying, and if more people though would be more of, yeah, man, I hope
Well,
Wingnut.
I
I
mean,
hope
you
Wingnut.
see,
I hope like here's a good example. Wingnut, man. I hope you succeed in every fucking thing you try. You know what I mean? And even when you have failures, I hope you strap your boots up and say, "Fuck this! I learned what I shouldn't do, and now I'm gonna learn what I should do." You know what I mean? I think if everybody started looking at things like that, we would be in a much better place. But yeah, we can go down a rabbit hole on that one too, man, because I think Satan is taking over this fucking world, man. I think, dude, I think we're
not,
living in, dude. I mean, if you go look at brother, I mean, real talk. I don't push my religion on nobody, man, and so you everybody can follow who they want to follow, but all I'm saying is it's real funny how really correct the Bible is if you go and read it, man. Everything that we are seeing right now is in the Bible. Period.
I'll tell you this, man. I mean,
What?
if I was to go onto that biblical scenario, um, uh, um, there's a part of me that thinks that that we are living in hell.
Well,
I
mm,
mean, honestly, I mean, you think about it. Honestly, okay, who? All right, if you go to according to the Bible, who did God put on this earth to rule?
Satan.
Exactly.
Well, see,
So,
right, but here's the difference is when you look at that situation and you say, okay, if there's a God, why would he put Satan, his opposite, who is evil, why would he put him rule?
exactly.
That's
Yep.
because God is a perfect gentleman. God wants you to come to him out of your faith. And even when you see the evils that you do and everything, you trust in God. That's the whole point of it, is that God doesn't force himself on you. That's the difference. But when you start talking about,
Well,
when you start talking about Allah and you start talking about Buddha and you start talking about these different gods, it's like if you don't worship them, well, then you're just as terrible. And he even sent his son, which was him, and it's kind of confusing, but he said this is the way you should try to live, and because you can't live that like that, I'm gonna give you another way to get to heaven. You see what I mean? And so the whole point of the Bible is that you go to God out of your faith and trusting that what he says is true. And it's really easy. I'm going to give you a giraffe story real quick. So let's look at the giraffe. Giraffes have this sponge in the back of their head. Man, they got these big long ass necks, correct? And so they have these big hearts that pump the blood up to their head, to their brain, so they can function correctly. All right. So when you think about that, so let's say the giraffe bends over. He's got that big ass heart that's pumping that blood all the way up that long ass neck when he bends over. Kind of like when you bend over, the blood rushes to your head, correct?
right.
Okay, so when a giraffe bends over, because his heart is so big, his head would explode. Blood would come out of his ears, eyes, nose, mouth. So the giraffe has this sponge like thing that goes in between the blood pumping up there and his brain. And so when he bends over to get a drink of water, his head doesn't explode. And then let's say Mr. Lion comes running out of the woods, going to eat him, talking about, "Rah, I'm going to eat you." And the giraffe throws his heads up and takes off running. Well, that sponge releases just enough blood into his brain to keep him conscious and understanding what's going on and being able to run away from the dangerous situation. Now, how in the hell can you explain to me that that wasn't a creation? That you're telling me that thousands of years ago these giraffes were sitting there and going, oh, Bob the giraffe over there bends his head over and drinks of the water and his head blows up. And the other giraffes go, damn, we're going to have to thirst to death for 1,000 years to keep from our heads exploding. So we just can't bend over and drink no water. You see what I'm getting at? So there has to be a creator there. And so the whole point of it is when you get these other religions out there, they go, convert to us or you're going to die. We're going to kill you. It's not you're going to die, we're going to kill you. That's what a lot of these other religions do. So I don't know, man. It's just food for thought. I like I said, Wingnut, I'll be your buddy, man. How You know what I'm saying? No matter what you choose, I may in my heart sit there and look and go, damn, you know, as far as it goes for what I believe, the religion that I believe in, the whole point of it is not necessarily that we're heaven, we're on hell on earth,
Well, I mean, that's just,
but hold on.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not that we're hell on earth. It's that we are shown both sides, and whatever we choose is going to be the end. So when it comes to the end, right? When it comes to the end, your separation from God for eternity is the true hell. Because then all you will ever live in is what the hell we live in now. Because that's all you'll ever know from now on. So that's the whole point. Sup, Snooks?
Yeah, I hear I hear what you're saying. I the I've been on my own walkabout my entire life, in a sense, and the truth that's been shown to me is not necessarily what's written in that book. I've read the book. I've read many different books, um, and you know, I tend to gravitate to much older uh, ways of thought
Right.
than even Christianity or even Judaism or even Muslim or Islamic or whatever. Tend to gravitate to the settings that's much older than that.
So
Um,
so okay, so see, to me, that's a false claim, and I only say that because I believe in the Bible, and
right.
so I believe what God says, and so
Well, see,
I'm not. No, hold on, real quick.
yeah,
Let me
yeah,
just say it like this.
yeah. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Obviously, I'm not dogging you out. I'm just saying, can you explain to me what you believe and how your thought process works? Because to me, it's well, it can't be possible that something is older than God's word.
Well, all right, all right.
Go ahead.
Um, the simplest way I can explain it is um, the what I consider the creator. And this is not what I believe because I don't believe in things. This is just what I know. All right, because I don't really like to use the word belief, faith, or hope because I think they're empty concepts. All right, but the way the truth that had been shown to me now, and I like I said, I know my view is not necessarily popular, and I don't try and push it on other people, but the way I see the creator is the union or the marriage between Mother Nature and Father Time,
Right.
and the union between them is what gave birth to all creation. All right, and that's the simplest way I can put it out there.
I understand that.
And
So go ahead.
honestly, it predates the Bible. It predates that that book.
So
Um,
so you believe there was always something here.
yes,
Okay. Okay. That's
there's always been something here. And the thing is like I don't discount um, um, other things or other beings from
right.
other places that are not from this earth to have a little bit of uh, a nudge into what's going on.
Well,
Um, because I mean, honestly, even if I was to even if I was to look at different, you know, if I was to look at all the different religions. I mean, you go all the way back to like the Sumerians, you go all the way back and all that kind of stuff. It's like these were beings that are not from this earth. I mean,
right.
even the fallen angels or the watchers, they were not of this earth. As far as I'm concerned, they're aliens from another fucking somewhere else. You know
Pilgrim.
what I mean? Yeah. What's up, Pilgrim? Um, and So yeah, there was help along the way, and it's quite honestly, I think that there's a good chance that there's been many versions.
Right.
And quite honestly, even if you look at the stories from these, even going back, as far as I know, like from the Sumerians, you look at all the different belief systems and stuff like these are these gods or whatever you want to call them. Because it depends on how you view these beings. They were not of this earth, and there was there was stuff here before they got here. All right, it's like even in the Bible, the Watchers, they procreated with the females on this planet to create the Nephilim,
Right.
and so that tells me right off the bat there was already people here before they got here. All
Right.
right, and
So,
but like I said, I tend to gravitate toward things that I find more real,
right.
and the stuff that I can observe in every day. I
So
can
let
observe Mother Nature and Father Time's work in front of me every time. I'm observing it right now. That's a product of Mother Nature and Father Time. Is that living thing, that thing we call fire, that is eating and breathing right here in front of me.
right.
You know.
So let me ask you. Let me give you something that is real that I observed in real time. And this goes back to the belief thing that you were talking about earlier, that you didn't, have
Yeah.
that um uh,
I
uh,
see it as an empty
belief.
concept. Right.
Yeah, yeah. That you thought it was an empty concept, the belief and the hope and everything.
Right.
So let me let me let me give you some real first world experience. There was a time in my life that I was homeless.
Hmm.
There was a time in my life while I was homeless that I was a druggie.
Hmm.
I'm talking like, you know, doing meth, doing crack, um, gone through several jobs. That was one thing I can always say is I never stole or shot up no needles, and I never stole. I always went to work, man, and I just did without when I just didn't have it. But man, the moment I got some money, shit, I was getting me some dope, right? I'm talking crystal meth, man. And so I hadn't seen my mom and dad in shit, probably a year and a half. No, hadn't talked to them, nothing. Same thing with my sister. No conversation, no sight, no nothing, right? So one day I was riding, I was working at this lawn care business for two black guys. And the dude's uncle owned the lawn care business, which was another black man, correct? So we're riding down the road, going to the next lawn. Dude's talking all kinds of shit, right? They're talking shit about the white man and how the black man's being held down, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, dude, I'm white, y'all are black. I said I work for y'all, like y'all are my bosses and shit. Like I make way less than y'all do. Y'all make more money. Y'all driving nice rides, man. I'm literally riding a fucking 10 speed to work because that's all I got. And so we get into this pretty good argument. And the driver of the truck, he says, man, he goes, if you don't shut your mouth, I'm going to hit you with this fucking radio. We had these walkie talkies, right? And so I whipped my buck knife out and I said, hit me with that fucking radio, brother. I said, don't miss because I'm going to cut you from ear to ear. I'm going to cut your throat and I'm going to cut your buddy's throat too. And he like skids, pulls over to the side, jumps out. I think they want to fight. So I was like, fuck it, let's go. I jump out, in a fighting stance and shit with that knife in my hand. Dude, dude jumps back in the truck and hauls ass. Leaves me leaves me in the middle of Little Rock, Arkansas, brother. And I'm talking about we're not in very nice neighborhoods. We're in, you know, white boy don't travel down this neighborhood type neighborhoods. And so I'm walking through, man, and I just start getting all these weird fucking feelings, man. And I can kind of throw some of that off to dope, but it's like, man, I'm walking down through there, and like I get sad, I get happy, I get angry, I get confused, and I'm walking back to my truck this whole time, right? I get back to my truck finally. Get in the truck, and I'm thinking, what the fuck am I gonna do? I just lost this job. Well, I got a paycheck coming, at least 4-day paycheck, so I'll get a decent paycheck because we worked a lot. And so I was like, okay, I'll go holler at the dope dealer, right? So I holler at so I'm going back home so I can call this dope dealer, and I'm gonna get some fronted, and pay him on Friday when I get paid. So I pull up to this stoplight, and it's in this major intersection, and my sister works at one of the buildings in that intersection. And I pull up to the stoplight, and I hear, as loud as I'm speaking right now, Billy, call your mom. And I'm just sitting there like, wait a minute. And I start getting goosebumps, right? And again, the voice says, Billy, call your mom. And I'm like, man, what's going on? I'm freaking out. And like I feel a tug on my shirt, and it says, Billy, call your mom. And dude, I'm like freaking out. I'm like, all right, I'm losing my mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So I make a U-turn. When the light turned green, I made a fucking U-turn right there in that big major intersection and went and found my sister. Like I said, I hadn't seen my sister or my mom and dad in a year and a half. I go and find my sister. She flips out like, "Oh my God, we thought you were dead. We didn't know, and we didn't know what was going on." So I'm like, "I need to call mom." So I call my mom and I say, she's like, "Oh my God, so glad to hear from you, son." And I said, "Mom," I said, "I think I'm going crazy." She said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, just a little bit ago, I was at that big intersection, yada yada." And she's like, "Yeah." And I said, "And there was a voice telling me, call your mom." And it just kept saying, call your mom over and over. And like I felt my shirt move. You know what my mama said? My mama said, "Son, you're not crazy." She said, "About 30 minutes ago, I was in there on my hands and knees begging God to bring me back home." So that's real life things, man. If my mama would have gave up hope on me, I would have went and drove through when the light turned green, I would have went, got more dope, and I'd probably be dead now, man, because I was into some pretty fucking shady shit back then, man. And I had some enemies, and on, what I mean, both sides. You know what I'm saying? I was I looked at people as enemies, and they looked at me as enemies, and they were people that would drive by and shoot your ass. You know what I mean? And if my mama would have not had hope, and she would not have had that that belief that God would bring me home, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now, brother. Like, real talk. I was homeless, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, at one time I was in a bad fucking way, man. I literally, dude, I weighed 130 pounds when I showed up to my mama's house. And, I'm not a big guy, but my normal weight is about 170, 175, and I weigh about 173. So you know, you can scratch it off as what you want, and I'm cool with that, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But damn, that's awful coincidental. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, man. You know, something's up.
We're all connected backwards. We're all connected, man. But you know, I don't know. I don't know. I've told you, you know, I've been homeless too before. I was homeless for 10 years, man.
Right.
And you know, and um, you know, and like I said, you know, how I how I classify it is like it's kind of like I you know, like how the Aboriginals they would, you know, they would go on a walkabout basically to seek truth. You know, and I'm still on that walkabout. And I
Right.
think all of us have our own walkabout to go on, you know what I mean? Or we're all on our own walkabout.
Well, think about
And
it like this, brother. Think about it like this, man. You said earlier, you said,
mhm,
who did God put in control of the earth? Satan.
according to the Bible, yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right, right, right.
yeah.
Exactly. And so when you look at that concept and you even admitted that you thought we were on hell on earth.
If I was to, yeah, if I was
Right. Yeah,
to
but you're
basically, if I was to like, you know, if I was to go by the according to the Bible and stuff like that, that's how I would view it. You
right.
know, if I was to go according to that, you know.
And that means that you think that you look at it enough that there might be something there. Enough to give it credential to think about it. And
Well,
so when you pull back and you look at this, Satan comes here to kill, steal, and destroy. And so
mhm,
when he does that, he is killing and destroying our lives. And the more that you don't buy into God, the more you accept. You may bitch about some things, but you're just kind of like, you know, I'll let that slide. And yeah, people kill and destroy, exactly, but that's because they're evil. And so let me try to put it like this, Anarchy. If you don't believe in a God, that there was a creator, that there's a reason for life, there's hope, and there's humanity that does exist. When you don't believe in that situation, then what you do is you only believe in the other, the latter, which is destruction and death and everything. So what kind of life is that to live? I mean, what's the purpose of life at that point? Can you answer that for me? Because the purpose of life for me as a Christian is that I go to heaven, and
uh-huh.
that I try to do, you know, God, you know,
Well,
sent
okay.
Jesus, and he showed us to even he said, let ye without sin cast the first stone. So he was letting everybody know you're a sinner. So that's why I don't hate people that don't agree with me. I don't hate, I literally have a gay neighbor. I was not kidding earlier. Like, I literally have a gay, and he's my buddy, man. I like the shit out of this dude, man. And so God taught me to be kind to him, and you know, to tell him what I believe. But if he rejects it, that's on him. It's no longer my problem. You see what I mean? And so that's why we um that's that's why we look at these things and say Satan rules the earth, man, and he does. And look at all the fucking chaos, man. And when you start to look at Christianity being down, look at what excelled with Christianity being down. And that's, I mean, it's perverted, man. I was looking on, Sean Ryan has this guy on once in a while, and he's like this fucking computer whiz, dude. And he makes
Are you
these
talking about
little,
the hacker guy, the hacker kid?
yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
real
yeah,
black hair,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
little, he makes these little bots and shit, these little devices, that
He got in with. Have you ever watched the
well,
Scam Baiters,
y-
the Scam Baiter thing,
yeah.
where they go after the scammers and stuff like in India and stuff like that? They did a deal where they had him come in and help hack the scammers and shit like that. So I know quite a bit about that guy. Anyway, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I'm sorry, Pilgrim. Rip, no man should be inside of you. I agree 100%. Anyways, so anyway, yeah, damn, that threw me off for a minute.
No, okay. See, the thing is, backwards. It's like I said. The truth. It's not like I don't believe that there's, or I don't think there is something bigger than me. Like I said, I view the Creator as Mother Nature and Father Time. And
Yeah,
if you look at the historical concept of time, or the Father Time, is Chronos.
no,
That's
no.
actually Chronos is actually kind of like closer to the evil part, and Mother Nature would be the good part.
Well,
So it takes both. It's like a yin and yang, and you need both to actually have every. You know, you need both of them. You
right.
cannot have one without the other. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
damn, here comes that rain again. I
You know,
understand
'cause,
I
you
understand
know,
what you're saying, but what I'm trying to get at is a whole different concept of I asked you a question a minute ago, and I said,
um,
what is the purpose of life if it's not to seek an afterlife? If
well,
it's not to seek to live in a good way and be
okay.
positive, what's the point of life?
Me
Right.
personally is to achieve enlightenment. That is the purpose, and that's because I don't really worry about after I die. I worry about while I'm alive. Because quite actually, when I die, that's just graduation to the next level. But the purpose of life is to achieve enlightenment. That's
Right.
how I see it. All right, and it might take many lives to get there. I don't know. I mean, quite honestly, the way I've been living this life, it's probably going to take me a couple more lifetimes to actually achieve that enlightenment. Because I think there is a reality when it comes down to past lives and future lives.
Right.
You know, because I I've had experiences in my life where I that has been shown to me, the truth has been shown to me that I have lived in past lives. And quite honestly, it's possible that you have also. And we knew each other back in the day, you know, and this is the reason why our paths cross in this lifetime.
It could
Because,
be. I mean,
you know, you know what I mean?
I do
Um,
believe that there's very good evidence of whole civilizations, man, being completely wiped out at just a snap of a finger almost. And you know, the mud flood.
yeah.
I believe in that shit, man. There's a lot of fucking evidence to support it. And
There's thoughts out there. I don't know if we would call them theories or not, but I mean, there's ideas out there that this is our seventh. We're in the seventh version of life on this planet. There has been six more that have lived before us. All right, we're the seventh version at the moment.
we'll see.
Um,
I'm kind of in agreement with that, and that's where I was going with that. Is that I still believe in God, the Creator, and I
right.
believe that I don't believe that Noah was the only time that people got unalived. You know what I mean? The
I
whole
think
planet.
you know, and I have a thought process that Noah was actually one of the Nephilim, one of the children of the Watchmen.
Mm,
So there's a few others, including Noah, but there's a few others that because I mean, um, all those beings did not
so where
die
did
in the flood.
so where did the
And,
Nephilim go?
oh, they're still around. You know what I mean? They're still around.
Okay.
I mean, some people say. some people say, I mean, this is more of a theory, I guess. Some people say even some of those like the the different versions of the Nephilim. You know what I mean? The Nephilim were the only ones that were in the image of the Watchmen. They
So
basically looked the same as the Watchmen.
so let me
They did a lot of genetic enhancements and stuff. They the previous versions were all the creatures that we feel that we see in mythical tales. You know,
so you believe in the Nephilim?
well, I don't know if it's a belief. I think it's more like I think it's more of
Okay,
a
so
probability.
you're pretty sure the Nephilim exist.
I'm pretty sure that there was, like I said, I'm pretty sure there was help from other
So
beings that are not of this earth. And yeah.
so where so I'm just asking a question. Where other than the Bible can you tell me where the Nephilim is in writing?
Well, I mean, you look in the Sumerians. I mean, you can even see resemblance in different like different other cultures. Like if you look at like even the Greek gods and stuff that actually resemble a lot of the different stuff when it comes down to like the Sumerians and the Greek gods, the biblical sense, the Peruvian gods, actually even China or the Asian type of mythology, if you want to call it that. There's a lot of stuff worldwide that that you know that points to these things that all I mean I think they're all the
So
same beings. They're just been named different from because you got to understand, like back in the day of biblical times and stuff like that. You got to think of the mindset of those people when they see, like, if I was to go back in the past with a Bic lighter and started showing those people in like 2,000 years ago a Bic lighter, they would consider me a god.
do
You know
you
what I mean?
do you believe that the time that we live in, that they say we're in, 11/21/2025,
Mhm.
do you believe that is correct?
No. I mean,
Okay,
because quite honestly, the reason why I say that is
so
because is
people
that
lie.
well, yeah, that's the reason why I don't really count
So
I don't really count the book as being the full truth because
then how can
people can
you
be corrupted and gods don't write books.
okay, so
People
how
do.
can you tell me that there were ancient texts before the Bible? Are you telling me
Yeah,
that people, well, hold on.
yeah,
Are you telling me that well,
yeah.
the Sumerians didn't lie, but everybody else did?
No, I didn't say they didn't lie.
Well,
I didn't
but
say
hold
that.
on, just hear me out.
Mhm.
And so therefore, I don't believe we're in the correct time zone. So how do you know that each person manipulated like the Sumerians, or whatever, the Israelites, these these and thems, you know how do you know that they didn't lie about the pretext of their books versus the Bible? How do
Right.
what makes you think that maybe the Bible is actually correct
What
and everything else is a lie, saying, well, no, the Sumerians were here first? Well, but people are corrupt and you don't believe we're in the right timeline. So how can you disprove, what I'm saying, the Bible versus who's correct here?
Well, okay, I'll tell you this. All right. Nobody in this time that we're living in right now, including you, has read the Bible because the original text of the Bible does not exist anymore. The text that we are reading today has been manipulated, retranslated, reinterpreted for thousands of years, and it's also been used for control. The original text, which there is still 20 or so more books that are not even included in the Bible of today, including like the Book of Enoch, which is only included in the Ethiopian Bible.
Right.
And if you start reading all the books, you start understanding a little bit more. But
So
that's another thing too. It's like most people. when they read the Bible, like like the King James version, that's not the real Bible. That's not
So
the
what you're
original
saying
text.
is from the Syrians to the Albanians to the Christians to the yada yada to the yada yadas, you're saying that we shouldn't trust in man because a lot of, I mean, they hid the book of Enoch, as you say. They,
Mhm.
we can't really trust that everything it says in the Bible is completely true because
Right.
man has touched it and rewrote it so many times.
Yeah.
There's probably some difference there, but so then again, I look at the Bible and God says, don't put your trust in man, put your trust only in me.
Right. Yeah, you don't need a book to tell you that.
Right. And so I'm just saying,
Yeah, I'm not trying to change I'm not trying to change you either,
no,
Backwoods.
no,
You know,
no. And I want you to believe how you want to believe, brother. I'm cool with
well,
that.
you
I'll
know,
still
I'm not.
hang out with you
You know,
anytime, man.
I'm not trying to change you, and I'm not trying to, convince you of anything else or
No,
either that.
we're having a debate.
Well, I mean, I'm just sharing. When it comes down to me, like I said, my viewpoints are not necessarily the popular ones out there, and I don't try and push them on other people. But since you ask,
Right.
I'm just sharing, my viewpoints, and it might contradict, in some aspects of, other people's beliefs,
Right.
I mean, but that's fine. What works for you is works for you. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
And that's fine.
And
And
that's
that's
exactly what I'm doing is sharing my experience and
right.
going the different direction than you are.
Right. Right.
You
And
know.
that's okay though, because what works for you works for you. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
I
Right.
mean, and I can't discount that because I mean, it's an individual thing, honestly. And and I, all right, because I come at it like this, like I said, it's
Your
like,
blood is not red.
people can be influenced, people can be corrupted, gods or whatever you want to call them don't write books. And and the thing is like there's a lot of stuff out there that there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of stuff that has been hidden from us, and a lot of stuff that has been corrupted over thousands of years, and it's been corrupted by and like I said, you got to have both the good and the bad. That's necessary. You can't have one without the other. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like I said, it's like almost like a yin and yang. It's like day and night. You can't have night without day. You can't have day without night.
Right.
It's the same thing. Um, you know, it's it's like mother and father. You can't have children without a mother and a father. You know
Right.
what I mean? You can't.
Oh, I agree.
These little faggots out there fucking each other, and stuff like that. They're never gonna have any children. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know,
I know.
you
I
know.
agree 100%, man. I mean, and that's what's so funny about all of this is that God teaches completely against that, and
Yeah.
yet a lot of these other religions, they're not necessarily they teach that because like Muslim, Islam. I mean, that they're completely against that shit. They'll throw
Well,
you off
yeah,
graves for
but
that shit.
but
But
but they're okay. They're okay of
it,
marrying a child at 10 years old. You know what I
exactly,
mean?
exactly, and so that's the whole thing is that when you start bringing all that stuff into play and you look at it and you think, okay, that whole yin and yang thing that you're talking about, yeah,
Right.
exactly, there's a god and there's a devil.
Right.
And
Well,
the you know I'll give you a little piece of information, and I may not be 100% correct on this, but by golly, I think I'm pretty fucking close. Do you realize that all other religions recognize Jesus in some form or fashion?
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, according to Islam, they only saw him as a prophet.
Tell me what
Um,
other religion recognizes another religion's leader as something to write
well,
about?
you got to understand. You got to understand
There is
where,
no.
like, for instance, you got to understand where, like, the Islam of Muhammad and Judaism and Christianity all came from, and where they all basically came from the same neighborhood. All right, and You know, Jesus was a Jew. Jesus' mother was a Jew.
Right, but
You know, and in my opinion, I think Jesus is one of the first and most famous anarchists, in my opinion, because he went
oh, he
against the
absolutely
establishment.
was an anarchist.
He went against the establishment. He was also, you know, this is during the time of Caesar. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? You know, when he was alive. And personally, I think Jesus, you know, I think probably a good dude to hang out with. You know, and he lived a long time ago. That's how I see it. I mean,
Right.
I don't discount that. You know, I mean, you know, I don't say that he never existed.
But what I'm
I think
getting at though,
he's probably a good dude. I would have loved to meet him
right,
and
but you're
shake
but
his
you're
hand back when he was a teenager. You know
I
what I
know,
mean?
but you're missing the point of what I'm saying because
Okay.
listen, all the other religions recognize Jesus in some form or fashion, a prophet, you know, a great man, or you know, a man of word, yada yada. But there are no other religions that recognize other religions' leaders as anything. They don't mention them. Like Muhammad doesn't mention, you know what I'm saying. He doesn't talk about, he don't recognize Buddha as some kind of special thing.
Well,
You
like I
know,
said, you know, you got to understand. Like I
Buddha
said,
doesn't recognize Muhammad as some kind of special thing.
well, Buddha wasn't a
But
god. Buddha
but they
wasn't
but they
recognized as a god either.
but they
Buddha,
all. I'm just making a point
right? Go ahead.
that Jesus Christ is Christianity. Jesus Christ is the only religion, the only person who is recognized by all other religions. None of the other religions recognize other gods of religions. They only recognize their own God. But all the other religions recognize Jesus.
Well, I have to correct you on that. I mean, you know, I like I said, you know, like I said, you know, Jewish, uh, the Muslims and Christianity, they all came from the same basic area. You know, they're brown people that lived over there in the damn desert. All right. They all came from the same geographical. They didn't know anything about the Asian culture at that time. They didn't know nothing about it. They didn't know nothing about Peruvian cultures. They didn't. They knew nothing about, you know, some of the other cultures around the world. You know, they all came from the same place. See, the thing is, like, the only reason why Christianity, in a sense, kind of spread around a lot of the world is the same way. You know how it got spread over to Asia is by, you know, people spreading that word. You know what I mean? You know, like missionaries and shit like that. That's how it got into South America. That's how it got into Asia. That's how it got into other places and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Same thing with Islam. Islam did the exact same thing. It's just that instead of missionaries, they went in and infiltrated and occupied and used force to force their beliefs on people. And the Jewish or the Zionists or whatever, they used economics. They used money. They
Right.
figured out how to manipulate money
Yep.
or the idea of money, and that's how they gained control and
Correct.
stuff like that. And that's how they got theirs and all that stuff. You know, back in the day. But anyway, you know,
So it
I
was all
digress.
through. So all of them were through some type of force.
Yeah, in one time or another in history, yeah.
Well,
Even
I mean, even if
Christianity
you're,
at one time.
I
Even
mean,
Christianity at one time, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're controlling the money, you're definitely controlling by force.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, but you got to understand, it's like, you know, that's the reason. See, that's the thing too. It's like, you know, the Jews or whatever they called themselves back then. They were also some of the, they were also, with the help of the Romans, or they were the ones that put Jesus on the cross. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because he was going against their beliefs and stuff like that. You know, the same with the Muslims and stuff. They want to actually, you know, use force because they believe my God is better than your God. You know, that kind of thing. You know, it's like, you know, that's why I've said this before, and I've said it, you know, a number of times. It's like, you know, when it comes down to like political and corporate and religious dogma is what is killing life on this planet. You know, you got all this religious dogma around saying, my God is better than your God. My God is the only God, you know, and I'm going to kill you because my God is better. And if you don't believe in my God, I'll kill you. You know, it's like it's been happening that way for thousands of years. And that's how many people have died in the name of God, of whatever they call their God. You know what I mean? You know, that's the reason why, I mean, in my view, in the way I look at things, the creator that I see as as reality, I has never done that. Um, has never tried to force their beliefs or their idea of what is real onto others. Um, and it's, you know, that's the reason why I've, you know, because I kind of look at myself. All right, you know why Bruce Lee was so good at what he did. You know why he was so good at martial arts. All right, the reason why he was so good at what he did is he learned many styles of martial arts, and then he ended up creating his own martial art called Jeet Kune Do. And the reason and the way he did that is he learned many different styles of martial arts and figured out the best parts of each one of those styles of martial arts that he learned and created and took those best parts of each one of those and made his own called Jeet Kune Do. I kind of think of myself the same way on the level of religion or way of thought or way of life or you know the way of thought. I kind of look at it like that. I study all of it. I look at all of it, and I find the best parts of all of them. And I kind of you know and I've done it my own. But the only thing is, it it gets closer toward like the druids. The druids actually I gravitate closer to that than anything, and that's older than Judaism or Christianity or any of that. It's much older. You know, I try to go toward the source, me personally, and the older known ways of thought is closer to the source, in my opinion.
Right.
You know, so that's the reason why how I do it. But you know, it kind of works for me. But you know, I've had my moments in my life
Right.
where you know I've questioned him because I mean, you know, I grew up, you know, we didn't go to church all that much, but grew up as a Baptist. All right, that's what we went to Baptist church when we were going, you know, when I was a kid and stuff like that. So that was something in my mind. And you know, when I was homeless that 10, you know, those 10 years, there have been moments in my life where I was like sitting there, like, if you are fucking real, why in the fuck is this happening to me? That kind of shit. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I know, and I start thinking about all those people, thousands of years in the past that have all sit there and prayed to God. And then next thing you know, they end up dead in a fucking ditch. You know what I mean? You know, I know there's people out there that have lived, you know, this righteous life, you know, lived by according to the Bible and all this other stuff, but they have some of the most heinous things happen to them. You know, why would God allow that? You know, if he's all powerful and all this other stuff. Why and you know, like I was saying on the devil scenario or the Satan scenario. I
Right.
mean, and quite honestly, man, let me ask you a question. Do you
Mhm.
think Adam and Eve went to heaven?
Well, that's a good question. I've never been asked that. Never even thought about that. Hmm.
What do you think?
I
Did you know there was a woman before Eve?
I mean, not that I know of, but man, that's a good question. I'd have to think about that one. Did Adam go to heaven and did Eve go to heaven?
Yeah, there was a woman before Eve. That was Lilith.
Oh, Lilith.
Yeah, that was a woman before Eve. But then,
You gotta understand, man. I've had a few drinks and may have
but that's okay. That's okay, dude. I'm you know because I mean,
the
like I
devil's
said,
lettuce might have a little hope to me too.
well, I mean, no, I mean, but this is that's the you know because you know I personally, when it comes down to like politics and religion, happen to be like the taboo subjects. I tend to love those subjects because everybody considers them taboo, but those are the subjects that actually affect all of us personally. You know
I
what I
think
mean?
I think that there's a possibility that Adam and Eve went to heaven, and only because he used them as a sacrifice to show the world what, to show man, humanity, that this is, this is the wages of sin is death, but
You
we
know,
have life.
according to the Bible, do you know who did the first murder?
That would be shit. The wasn't it one of the brothers? Damn.
Yep, the sons of Adam and Eve, Cable and Cain and
Yeah.
Abel.
There you
That
go.
was the first murder. That was the first murder.
Yes, Cain. Yes.
Right. So, you think about this. It's like, you got the first sin, Adam and Eve, and then you got the first murder from their children.
Right.
Do you think they went to heaven? I mean, it's something to sit there and let their pride and rule.
Here's the thing. There's a possibility that one of them went to heaven and one of them didn't.
Right.
Cain obviously probably didn't, but again, it's not for me to judge. See,
right. I agree.
But when you move forward in the New Testament, and Jesus was crucified on the cross, right?
Right.
There were two beside him, correct?
Right.
And one said he would be with him and, believed in him or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus said, today you will be in our kingdom with a Father. And then there was another one who rejected. And
right.
therefore he went to hell. And I think that before that, I think there's been these teachings, and I don't think it's important to, to the thing of Cain going to hell and Abel didn't, and everything that I've studied and looked at in the Bible, the two men that died, one was a thief and one was a murderer or something.
Right.
And there's some talk about, this certain one confessed, the murderer, and then there's some talk that it was the thief. But everything that I've actually found is there's not really either one of them are pointed out. The one that is pointed out is the one that accepted Jesus Christ, and to go to heaven. And so I think that the whole Cain and Abel thing was teachings, but it isn't it's not for us to, we'll know that. Well, I believe in God, and I believe, I've been saved and I'm gonna go to heaven. Okay, so God says you will know all the answers to your questions when you go to heaven. And I think that, Jesus says, I go and prepare a place for you. And I think this is practice here on earth of what's going to be before us. I don't believe that we're going to die and go and just be on our knees for eternity worshiping God. I think God is I don't think that's what he's about. I think he's preparing a heavenly place for us, that we're going to fish and hunt and do all kinds of things, but it's going to be for fun, and it's not going to be necessarily because we have to survive. You know what I mean? And there's not going to be any pain, but maybe I die and lights are out and it's over with. The worst thing that happens to me is that, well, I lived a life a certain way and it was good. And even through my dark times, man, I had hope. And I when I was homeless and I'd lost my first wife, and, we got a divorce, and, I didn't get to see my daughter, and I ended up homeless. I was doing drugs, and I put a 45 to my head, man, and pulled the hammer back.
And I begged God to let me pull the trigger, man, and I just couldn't. So just as you said earlier that, you know, there was people begging God and then they still died, I begged God and I'm alive. And so I don't really know the correct answer for that, brother, but what I do know is that, you know, with that hope, I'm better off now than I was before. And I went through some really hard times and I learned a lesson and I learned to follow God's ways, man. I, you know, financially and everything, I studied some biblical financial studies. And dude, I'm not rolling in money or anything, but like I'm literally I will have my house paid for when I retire. Um I'm less than 10 years from paying my house off. And this is from me being homeless, man. I have a boat. It's a 16-foot flat bottom with a 25 horse and a little foot controlled trolling motor, but guess what? It's paid for. I have a four-wheeler. It's paid for. I have a truck. It's paid for. I have a car. It's paid for. The shop building I'm sitting in is paid for. I'm building a building out back. I have all the materials sitting here in my shop. It's paid for. You know what I mean? And I done this off of biblical principles. And so I'm living a good life. And I have hope that I'm going to heaven. And I'm going to continue to live that good life because I feel that God gave me that. And because I truly believe. And so the real question is if I'm wrong, well, I just lived a good life and lived a certain way, and damn, everything's cool.
Right.
But
No, like I said, I mean, you know, if it works for you,
hold on.
yeah.
But if I'm right, if I'm correct, and there's really a God and the way I'm living is what God told me to live, and I'm
Mhm.
going to heaven.
Right. Well, that's
The
cool.
people that don't believe that, the people that don't believe that, and they don't go to heaven, they spend eternity from God. And so therefore, if I'm correct, then I'm in the good for eternity. If I'm wrong, it's just lights out when I die and it's over with. But the difference is when somebody is wrong about God and they're the ones who's actually wrong, then they're the ones who spend eternity in hell. And that's all I'm saying. And so that's my belief system is like, okay, if I'm wrong, no big deal. I just lived a certain way and everything was good.
Yeah.
And I was able to accomplish even more than what I did before because I've lived more of a biblical way now than what I did the first time. And it all got into chaos and screwed up and people cheating on each other and all kinds of, you know, terrible shit. And now I'm living a completely different way in a biblical way and everything is a-okay. I don't know. It's just what it is.
Well, put it this way. Put it this way. I at least, I, if I was to use the word hope, I hope that they got visiting hours in heaven.
Right?
You know, because I mean, you know, when my dad passed away, when he was when he was right before he died,
Right.
he believed he was going to go to heaven, and you know, he asked me to forgive him, and it's not my place to forgive. You know, because according to the Bible, it's not my place to forgive. It's only God's place to forgive. So I told him I instead of saying I forgive you, I told him I was like you did the best you can.
Right.
Um, and if he does go to heaven, and when I graduate after my spark leaves this physical body, you know, hopefully they got visiting hours and I can go visit. You know, because you know, um, you learn a lot about life when you're around death.
Well, let me ask a
No.
question. Let me ask a question.
Mhm.
If you went and put an application in tomorrow, and the guy said, "You know what? I'm gonna hire you. Here's a certain set of rules. Do you agree to follow these rules?" And you say, "Sure, no problem." Whether you like them or not, but you need the money, and the guy's offering you a job. Do you think that he is allowed, if let's say you come in late every day, you're disrupting the supply chain, you're costing him money, do you think he has the right to fire you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I didn't agree.
Okay, okay,
I
okay,
didn't.
okay, real quick.
Comply with the agreement. Because there
Right.
was an agreement
So
that we
so
made.
new guru. I'm God. I made you. You have free will. But if you don't believe in me, I'm going to send you to eternal damnation. Makes sense. Well, I mean, even in reality of everyday life, if you go to work for someone and you agree to their rules, then and you follow their rules, then you don't get fired or sent to eternal damnation, correct? So if you buck their rules, then you get fired or sent to eternal damnation. I mean, it makes sense to me.
Well, you know, um, uh, um, no, like I said, if it works for you, I mean that's
Moonchild.
good. You know, hey,
Right,
what's up, Moonchild? And I mean, like I said, if it works for you and that keeps you going, keeps you where keeps you where you wake up in the morning, that's fine. You know what I mean? Everybody's got something. Everybody's got something that gets them up in every morning, gets them out of the bed, gets them out of bed every fucking morning. You know what I mean? Everybody's got something. And it's got, if it's like a belief in this or whatever, if it works for you, it works for you. You know what I mean? I got nothing against that. You know what I mean?
right,
I'm not gonna down you or what you believe or what you think is real. I'm not going to down you for that because I mean, that is the truth that's been shown to you. We've got our own path to we all of us got our own path to walk. You know what I mean? You cannot walk the path for me. I can't walk the path for you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And I mean, even on the biblical end of it, when it comes down to the watchmen, you know what I mean, the watchers and stuff. There was a thing on the talking about the watchers. You know, their job was like, for instance, if they was to see the impending doom, they were to warn the people of the impending doom. If the people did not heed the warning, it was on them. But if the watchers saw the impending doom and did not warn the people, it was on them. It was on the watchers.
right,
It was I don't consider myself a watcher. I don't claim to be, but I do watch. You know
right,
what I'm saying? I do observe. I do see things. And that's
right,
the reason why a lot of the stuff, like when we talk about politics or whatever and all that stuff, I find it's like a drive. It's some kind of it's something that drives me. I have to because I see this stuff. I see the dominoes stacking up. I feel like it's my responsibility to warn people of these things, the impending doom. There's a cliff ahead. Don't fucking go over it.
well,
If you don't listen to me, that's fine. You know what I mean? Because it's
right,
not going to be, I did my part. I did my part. You know what I mean? I told you about it. But
right,
if I
exactly,
saw that
yeah,
cliff up there and I didn't warn you about it, it would be all on me. You
right.
know what I mean? You know what I
So,
mean? It's almost the same thing on what you're trying to, on your level. It's like you see it as in your mind, it would be like um, trying to warn me of certain things. It's like, okay, you see a cliff that's in front of me, you're trying to warn me.
right,
You know what I mean?
exactly, yeah.
I understand where you're going with that. I understand where you're coming from on that because I see the same thing in some aspects. You know what I
So,
mean?
well, and I'm defending my position, you know,
Right.
and
I,
so like well, real quick, New Guru says you're comparing this God deity to man's monetary ways now. Laugh out loud. Can't make this up. Okay, so
oh,
let me explain something. What I was doing was giving you a parable, just like Jesus Christ did. And even the fact that when he was talked about the denarii and how people were, you know, they hired somebody and said, you get paid this much per day. You hired another guy, he was only halfway through, and you get paid the same, yada yada. And then the one that worked all day was like, why did I get paid the same as the guy that only worked a quarter of the day, at the end of it there? And he's like, well, I mean, didn't you agree to work for this much money for this day? So the thing about comparing a God to man's monetary ways now, like that's some kind of laughable joke. Jesus Christ did that in the parables. And so, that's not a laughable situation. That's actually, a biblical concept of that. You see what I mean? So that's all I'm saying, is that comparing monetary systems to God, well, I mean, Jesus, who was the teacher, actually, did that with the parables. Just like he taught about the donkey in the ditch, because everything, like the anarchy part where, Jesus was an anarchist, and he was like, they had it to where you couldn't even pick up your cloak on a Sabbath, man. And, and so he used the parable of getting your brother's donkey out of the ditch, because, I mean, wouldn't it be more profitable to go get your brother's donkey out of the ditch? You see what I mean? How much more obvious can this be that it's all fictional? Hey, brother, you can believe what you want to. I'm cool with that, man. I mean, that's your belief system, man. And I'm just defending my belief system and saying why I used that concept is because it's the same thing as it's a parable.
Right. I hear what you're saying. Because I mean, what I've learned when it comes down to, see, I don't try to convince people of certain things. I don't try to force my ideas on other things. But the best way I know how to give my viewpoint is through stories. All right. I'll give you an example. Let's see here.
Well, real quick, let me just say this. I want to make sure you understand. I'm not trying to force my beliefs on anybody. I'm just defending my position.
No, I understand. I understand.
Yeah, I made claims, and so therefore I'm defending my claims.
I understand. No, I'm just stating that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm stating
because like for instance, I started looking at things like, like for instance, there's an old cemetery plot. It's back here in the back of woods on the back, way back there in the woods of our property.
Go ahead.
And it's a family that's actually related to us way back in the past somehow. I'm not sure exactly how in our family they're related to us, but they're related to us somehow.
Did some cousins get together, man?
They're distant cousins and stuff. There's a whole family buried back. It's a cemetery. It's a little family plot type of thing.
So they were in the belief the closer the kin, the deeper it goes in.
Well, I'll tell you this. All right. Back then, they were a wealthy family. All right, they had slaves. All right. And there's the cemetery plot, the little family plot or whatever. It's fenced in. All right, and the house slaves are buried inside the fence, and all the field slaves are buried outside the fence. All right, and every once in a while I go down there, and it's like it's on the property. It's just down in the woods down here in the property, and but every once in a while I'll go over there and hang out because I love cemeteries. I mean, I used to go to cemeteries all the time. My granddad was a genealogist in his later years. So I used to get drug around to cemeteries all the time, and graveyards and all that stuff, and tracing family trees and shit like that. So I'm very comfortable around cemeteries.
Well,
And and uh, one of the things I was sitting there, I was like, it made me think about back in those days, because you got to understand, back when there was plantations and slaves and stuff like that, you had to be pretty wealthy. It's like the elite of today, basically. Average everyday Joes didn't have fucking slaves and shit. All right, but like I said, they're related to me somehow. I'm not sure how, but they're related somehow to me. But I started thinking about the house slaves. Um, they they didn't want to. They didn't know anything better. They had food on the table. They had clothes on their back. They had a house over their head, a roof over their head, and stuff like that. And but they were still slaves. And the field slaves out there, if the master's house was to burn down or like catch on fire, those field slaves out there, they would actually hope for a strong breeze and burn that fucking house down with a master in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But those house slaves out there, they be getting out them buckets of water and shit trying to put the house out. You know what I mean? Because they ain't had it so good.
Right.
And but they're still fucking slaves.
well,
Right. The thing is, it's like, I start thinking about, when it comes down to like the religious part of it, when it comes down to religion on how it's evolved over thousands of years, it's the elite that write the books, because the average people
Okay.
didn't know how to read and write. They didn't understand the language. All right. The elite are the ones that actually had the knowledge how to read and write, and how to create a business in a sense. Um, so the average people didn't know any of that stuff, and they were easily controlled. And I see that when it comes down to religions, right? And the way it's evolved over thousands of years is the elite are the ones that write the books, write the history books. They're the ones that change the calendar. I mean, honestly, if you look at the natural progression of the earth and the moon and the sun and all this other stuff out there, technically, we're supposed to be living in a 13-month calendar, 28 days each month. And technically the beginning of the year would be in the spring equinox, and yet it's not. So things have been changed, and to control us. All right, this is just like getting
Right, so-
hear me out when it comes down to it. Even like I said, when it comes down to like this King James version, King James, a fucking asshole. He's the one that actually, authorized the King James version. There has been things that have been changed and altered in the original text that was there before. There's been certain words and certain phrases and stuff like that have been, changed. And even from the original text, when the Bible was written, it has been reinterpreted and retranslated many, many times
But
over
how?
the years. And like I said, there is still over 20 books that nobody gets to read, that is not included. And quite honestly, I think it'd bring a greater knowledge of the Bible, for instance, if you actually had read all those books also. And viewpoints might be a little different. But I'm not saying that you're wrong in what you believe and
Well,
what you
all I'm trying to get at is that it's real easy to sit and say, well, the King James version and this version, and man has done this and man has done that, and so
right.
I can't really believe the Bible so much, believe that there's a God, but I can believe that the Samaritans, or I can believe that this, paganism. I can believe that, they're correct, but God is wrong. And it's like, but hold on a minute. It's like,
Well,
but you just said you didn't trust, that you knew that man had changed and perverted things throughout history. So,
right.
how do you sit there then and justify saying that the Bible is actually wrong?
Well, like I said, my viewpoints and my the truth that's been shown to me is not written in a book. Um, it's not written in a
Like
book.
what truth?
Well, like I said, I see the Creator as Mother Nature and Father Time. That is what created and gave birth to all creation. In simplest terms, that's the way I see it. All right, that's not written in a book. That's not written anywhere. I mean, if I, even when it comes down to like the Sumerians, like I was saying earlier, these are just, stuff that's been carved in stone a long time ago, talking about the beings that came down that are actually probably the same people that were called the Watchers back in the day. All right, it's just the same entities, the same beings. They're just given different names, and all those mythical creatures that
So
we have heard about and through history from all the different,
them couldn't
everything
be.
from like dragons and all these like the Medusa and fucking, like
So them couldn't be
the
fallen angels. Them couldn't be demons
well,
of fallen angels, and Satan being given rule
well,
over the earth. That
like I
couldn't be
said,
possible
like I
that that happened.
well, I didn't say that it didn't. I'm
Well,
saying
right.
that those things are not of this earth. As
Yeah,
far as I'm concerned, they're aliens. They could
but
be
see,
aliens. You
what I
know.
believe as a Christian is that absolutely that stuff is true. Absolutely,
Well,
there were evil demons and evil gods
Mhm.
that people worshipped.
And
But
like I
they
said,
wasn't removed from God.
as far as I'm concerned, those things are real. And as far as I'm concerned, but they're not of this earth. They are other beings from somewhere else. And if I was to use them in layman's terms, they're aliens from another place. You know what I mean? They're not of this earth because what was here before they got here is really truly what we are. But we've been manipulated, and we've also been probably genetically altered, also from or helped, because those beings, those fallen angels, those watchers, those whatever they were called back then, and in those things, they actually helped the species or the humans or whatever that was here, the the what do you want to call us back then? I don't know if we were humans then. I don't know. We were just probably the most dominant primates on this planet.
So you really
But
believe we come from some type of primate?
well, I wouldn't say that I'm not saying that we're like coming from apes or anything like that. No, but I think that we were kind of like kind of like Neanderthals. They or whatever. I don't know. It's like just another version, just an earlier version of what we are now. Because like I said, I think we're the seventh version. There's been six previous versions before us that six previous civilizations that you think about some of even the archaeological stuff that's been dug up. It shows clear evidence that there was technology that is beyond our reach that we have today. You know what I mean? So there was been six other versions that all happened and all got erased. You know what I'm saying? Before now, we're just the seventh version of what came before us. All right, and like I said, those beings from other places that came here, they brought technology with them, like the ability to agriculture, the ability to make weapons, the ability to make fire, this is technology that they passed on to us. All right, and this is how we've evolved over thousands and thousands of years. Like I said, but the thing is like those beings that was called the fallen angels, or the watchers or demons or whatever, I think they all exist. It's just that there's been different cultures that have just called them different things. You know, they're all the same thing, and I think they exist today.
So let me ask you this. So where did you get the concept that there was 14 other species or 7 other species or we're the 7th? Where did you get that concept from?
Well, from different books and different
Oh, so,
different ideas,
so
different ideas.
man
It's
who you can't
I'm not
trust.
saying it's,
Oh, hold
I'm
on,
not saying it's a
brother.
real
Hold
thing.
on,
I'm just saying
hold on.
these are ideas.
I know,
I'm
but
not
I'm
saying this
just
is all
saying,
real. I'm just
right.
saying that this is the I see this as the more likely of what's happened.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
so
I'm
you
not
actually
saying that,
so you actually don't have a belief.
no, I don't have any beliefs. No.
I got you.
No, no. Like I said, the truth that has been shown to me is when it comes down to the creator. I think there is something that is bigger than me. All right. And that bigger than me is Mother Nature and Father Time. That is what gave birth to everything. All right. Everything you see on this planet is what gives, Mother Nature and Father Time is what gave birth to it. That is the,
We do,
if
but
I
hold
was
on.
to call that a God, that would be the God, but that is the creator, is the union between those two.
I know, but hold on. Like we dig them up all the time, and archaeology is our friend. Well, I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, we're expecting the scientist or the professionals, to tell us what them texts say, and
Well,
so but then we turn around and say, well, but everything has been skewed in time, especially the Bible, and so it's all been skewed. So how do we know that the text that's written in some language that we don't know, but these other people they know, and they're like, oh yeah, this it says this. So
it's a good point. That's a good point. That's
how
a
can
very
we
good point.
how can we really trust then that anything that is said is true, as far as it goes for even the beings and stuff that they've seen over
You're
time. And let's say that
you got a good
they
point there,
think,
backwards. I'm gonna tell you, you got a
yeah,
good point. You
that's
know
all.
what I mean? Even what was written in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Do you think anybody really knows how to translate that into reality, or even speak what was written in the Dead Sea Scrolls? I mean, can you imagine? There's nobody that knows how to pronounce any of that shit. I
Right.
mean, nobody knows how to speak that. It's a dead language.
Right, that's all.
Right?
Yeah, that's all. That's what I'm saying, man, is that
I
it
mean, so
all
so
boils
in
down.
a way, like what you just said, I kind of agree with what you said. You know what I mean? Because it's almost like we've been lied to all our lives backwards. All right. So quite honestly, we can't believe anything of what they've been trying to tell us. All right. And quite honestly, the reason why I went to the direction I went to is because I don't rely on external sources to tell me what's real. I look at all of this stuff around me and I can see it right here in front of me. You know what I'm saying? I see what Mother Nature and Father Time created. I see it happening all around me. And I've had this conversation with Independent Media United, and she's like, it's almost like semantics because what I'm explaining is the exact same thing as what the biblical God was explaining. All
Right.
right, I mean, because it's almost like semantics in a sense. You know what I mean? But it's a little different though. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, there's a control mechanism that's built into the modern Bible that I don't really agree with. You know what I mean? And I don't see it as truth. But you know, when it comes down to like I was like that was the reason why that's the reason why I went back to the Adam and Eve question.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that is an interesting question because, it's like, that was the first sin. So I question is like, I mean, did Adam and Eve actually go to heaven?
So
You know, or
so
did they
I'm
go,
gonna
or
say,
did God send them to hell? You know what I
I'm gonna
mean?
say it like this. I believe they went to heaven, and I believe it's because God used them as a sacrifice to teach the human beings that He was about to create.
So would all of us be a sacrifice? Because according to the Bible, ever since Adam and Eve's mistake or Adam and Eve's fucking, uh,
No,
You know, and that's another thing too. That's another thing too.
no,
This is
we're
another
not.
thing.
We're not. No, we are not all sacrifices. No.
Well, but I mean, because honestly, I think it's according to the Bible, we were all cursed after that. You know what I mean?
That's why he brought Jesus Christ on, to show you another way
Okay.
that he thought maybe, would be more correct in the way that, him being the creator wanted us to be. And that he knew that because we are not God, we cannot be perfect. And he desires our love, to freely. And so he shows us different ways. You know what I mean? He allows us to experience different ways and let you decide, hey, I want to be with God, or no, I don't. I choose to believe this other thing. I mean, it's kind of like flat earth and round earth. I mean, man has always told us the earth is round. And then a lot of men have
Well,
told us,
no, not really.
hold
If
on,
you
hold
actually,
on, hold on, hold on.
the,
And a lot of men, well, I
not
know
originally.
we can argue about the 14 different directions the earth go, but my point of it is that man has told us the earth is round and man has told us that the earth is flat. The Bible talks about we sitting on 4 pillars,
Right.
but it also talks about a spear. And so, I don't know, exactly. And I think it's really something that doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, my belief in God, and my walk every day that I walk, I get up, let's say tomorrow, Elon Musk takes me up in a SpaceX, Rocket Dragon or whatever his rocket ships are called. And we go up there and I look and I go, damn, the earth is round. Or I go, damn, the earth really is flat, man. And they're like, hey, we're just going to deny or whatever. I mean, it's not going to, when I land back on the ground, I'm going to be like, well, them some bitches were lying. I knew that though. They've always lied to us, just like you said earlier. And I agree with that 100%. They do always lie to us, man. And it gets down to a point to where it's like, shit like that doesn't matter, man. Did Adam and Eve go to heaven or hell? I don't know, man. I really don't know the answer, but I don't think it's important. I think what is important is what happens after, and what
Yeah, see, that's okay.
the
That's
lessons.
in my opinion, me personally. I think that's where me and you kind of differ on it. I don't think what happens after your spark that leaves your physical body is gone. Is gone. I don't find that as important. I find the life that you're living is what is important.
Well,
Because I honestly, for me, I already know what's going to happen to me after I die. I'm not worried about it. I don't really care. You know what I mean? Because I mean, honestly, it's like for me, it's more like if I don't achieve enlightenment in this life, I just get recycled to the next life and the next life after that until I achieve enlightenment. Once I achieve enlightenment, I become one with the universe. That's how I see it. I'm not really worried about it. What I worry about is really what I am alive. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And I mean, and honestly, man, if according to the Bible, if we're all born in sin at birth, you know what I mean? I find that very disheartening, because quite honestly, according to the Bible, with Adam and Eve's mistake, every generation after that is born in sin.
So let me ask this question.
Right?
So if you, all right, so let's use this analogy. Let's use another analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a football team, for instance. When you go down the field, every football team that gets on there, gets on the field, is you're trying to reach an end goal, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, you're there to win. You're there to make touchdowns.
Right.
So your end goal is to win and
Right.
to win out.
Okay.
So in football, you have, let's say you got the quarterback, you got the running back, you got the tight ends, yada, yada, fullbacks, whatever. There is 19,000 plays that will get you to the touchdown, correct?
Okay.
Okay. And so Satan is the other team that doesn't have the ball. So they're playing defense. So they're trying to stop you from getting to that touchdown. And so therefore what happens is every team that goes out there to reach that end goal also has an opposite that tries to keep you from reaching that end goal.
Right.
And so therefore God, I say, is the offense and Satan is the defense. And he's trying to stop you in every form or fashion from getting to the touchdown, the ultimate goal. You know, there you mentioned the spark leaving your body at the end of your life. Well, that spark also happens when the sperm and the egg meet. There's a spark that happens, and that's life.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, how
Let me ask you on that analogy. All right, you got a football game. Now, are you concentrating on the game to get to that end, to the end of the game, which is to win the game, right?
In that part of
you're really more concentrating on how you're going to be playing the game, right?
Well, in that part of it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're not really concerned about the pizza party after the game. You're really concerned about playing the game. All right. The end goal is to win the game.
Yes, and playing the game.
Right. That's the life that you have to live.
That's why you have these athletes that go out and practice daily.
Right. That's the life you have to live.
And so that's the life you got to live in order to get to the end game.
Right.
Which winning the game, which gets you to that pizza party.
Right.
So
but you're not concerned about the pizza party.
No, but
that's not what you're really trying to achieve, is that pizza party. I mean,
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, you're not. Because the reason why I say that, is because I see a lot of people that are that have said that they're not really living their life because they're living to live in heaven.
So I know, but real quick. The whole part of playing the game is to win the game so that you get to the pizza party. And if there is no reward when you win the game, then what's the point of playing the game?
Right. I hear you.
That's what I'm saying, is that's the whole point of playing the game and making the different plays to get to that end result so that you get to the pizza party. For that,
do you think you only have one game?
What's the point of playing the game if there's no reward at the end?
Right. I agree. Okay. I agree. That's the reason why I say enlightenment.
Earlier, what's the point of life if there is no end game?
I agree. That's the reason why I say enlightenment. And I don't think there's only one game to play. You might have a whole series of games through that season to get to that end of the season. You know what I'm saying? You got many games to play. You don't have just one chance at this whole fucking thing. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. You know what I mean? I know my life is not going to achieve enlightenment in this lifetime, because I haven't lived like I should. I know that for sure. I know I'm not going to be able to achieve enlightenment in this lifetime. I'm probably going to have to live many games. I have to go through many games to get to the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? So my end goal is enlightenment. Like for your idea, it would be to go to heaven. That's the end goal, right?
Yes, that's the picture.
Okay, right. So, but do you think it's only one chance at this whole fucking thing? One game? Or do you have a whole season to play?
Well, your life is the season. That's the point, is that, just like in football, if you go and you lose, right? If you lose enough games, you don't get to go to the pizza party.
Right.
But if you win enough,
and you make the right moves throughout your time, then you get to go to the pizza party. And as far as it goes for how do you know if there is an end? Well, the game, all right, so you play the game to get to the end result, which is going to the pizza party. The pizza party is when you believe in God, is it's eternity. There is no end. But as far as it goes for the beginning, you have to, if you believe that there is a goal to reach and you believe in God, then you have to believe that there was a beginning, that God was there, and God said, you know what? I want this. I want to try this. I want this. I want to, and so there had to been a beginning. And so what happens?
New Guru is just trying, man. I'm telling you, Nude, you just fucking trying, ain't you?
He's trying, but he's failing really badly.
It's fucking.
Yeah, he's failing really badly
awful.
because the whole point of playing the game is to get to the end goal, which is to reach the pizza party, because you're celebrating. That's the whole point of life, is that you have a beginning and an end, and what you did in between there results, the results is what gets you your end goal. That makes, instead of you going home and missing out on the pizza party because you didn't make the right plays, instead you do get that. And I understand about being bored of the pizza, but I mean, it's.
Let me ask you this backwards. Let me ask you this. Before you were born, where were you at?
I was being knitted in the womb.
No, I mean before that initial, sperm and egg came together. Before then, where were you before then?
I was just a thought in God's mind.
So you're a brand new soul. Brand new soul.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Me personally, I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way. I see it that I have had many lives in the past. Matter of fact, there was a time, man. I used to go around to these rainbow gatherings and stuff. It's kind of like, almost like kind of like Woodstock type of shit. But it was a lot of the rainbow gatherings and stuff. They go all around the U.S. Like you can go from one national forest to the next, to that, to the next, to the next, and go all over the U.S. and stuff like that. Going from one gathering to the next. All right, and it's kind of weird though, because I mean, this is one of the things that makes me realize that the world is a small world. Because I would see people that I haven't, that I had no, I would just see people that I just didn't expect to see. You know what I mean? They'd pop up, you know what I mean, in different national forests around the fucking U.S. and shit like that. And there was this one time, man, I was hanging out with this one kid I used to call Frog, and we were out hanging around in the Ocala National Forest, and both of us had this. It was almost like kind of like a deja vu, but it was almost like a vision that both of us had at the same time of the time that we actually knew each other back in, like, I don't know, the 1300s or some shit like that. You know what I mean? And evidently, and this is another thing too that other kind of strengthens. I've had this type of vision, or whatever you want to call it, with different people. Because I think all of our paths cross for a reason. Even me and your path had crossed for a reason, right? In the way I see things is quite possibly our paths have crossed before in past lives, in past realms, all right? And the reason why our paths crossed again is because it was necessary, and we're supposed to learn something from each other. That's how I see it.
Right.
I think we're supposed to learn something from each other, even though we might disagree with some things. We are going to learn something from each other.
I think
even
what,
if,
I think why God put me here was to learn patience, man.
Well,
I'm bugging with you, brother. Yeah.
I mean, that is a virtue. You know what I mean?
Right,
It is something that I mean, it is part of our life. You
right,
know what I mean? And I mean, it's quite honestly, in a past life, you probably didn't have any patience, and this the life you have to learn it. You know what I mean? Because to achieve enlightenment, you have to go through all these different steps, and that's how I see it. You have to go all through all these different steps,
right.
and it might take many lifetimes to get there. You know, I mean, it would be a rarity if you could actually achieve enlightenment in one lifetime, in my opinion. Um, and the way
Well,
I see things.
right.
Um, you know
Well,
what I'm saying?
right. Well, let me tell you this, man. It's 2 o'clock. I just realized, and I've got like several fucking things I've got to do today.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you, I really appreciate you even coming up and hanging out
Oh,
with me.
brother, I watch. I watch. Dude, I told you, man. We can be adults, man. We can be friends, even if we have different viewpoints and beliefs, man. That's what I mean, man. New guru, man. I wish you all the best. Real talk, man. I really do. I'll debate with you, and we can go back and forth. What's up, Teresa?
If you were really wanting to test your patience, get on a panel with me and Guru and
Oh,
let Guru actually talk to you. I mean, you talk about your patience. Me
right,
and Guru have actually butted heads on certain things also,
right,
because I mean, I talk about private property and stuff like that, and me and him butt heads on that fucking subject. And
right.
oh man, because you know, he's a unicorn when it comes to certain things. Because I don't know, he's an interesting character. But
No, I understand, but I got to go help Bug out today. I've got to. I may be going to deer camp, and if I do, it's going to be a last minute deal. So, like, I'll have to, like throw my shit together and throw it in the truck, and that kind of shit. Hook up to the 4-wheeler trailer. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
so, yeah, and I've got some other shit that I've got to get done too. And so,
no, like I said, I really appreciate you coming
yeah,
up and
man.
hanging out and having a conversation with me. I
I
really do.
appreciate you. I appreciate you having me up, brother, man. I want to do it again, man. It's all good.
Well, feel free. I mean, and because I mean, I love having conversations and stuff like that. And if there's anything else you want to talk about, man, let me know, and we'll hang out again. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
man, I always like to talk about all the subjects, man. I'll go down rabbit holes. I'll talk about the current political events. I'm good to
There's
talk about any of
there's
it.
a lot of stuff to talk about on that stuff too. So
Oh,
we'll do it again for sure.
yes, sir, man. Appreciate you, brother, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna get out of here. And remember, when you prepare your mind properly, things will fall into place, man. I'm just saying, backwoods out.
yeah. you know, you guys. I'm telling you, I appreciate all you guys coming up in here. I don't. I mean, I can keep the live going for a little bit longer and stuff like that. And you guys, if you guys want to hang out and all that stuff, but if anybody does want to come up on the panel, I mean, especially if I know you. If I don't know you, um, I'm really weird about it because all the crap and all that shit. What's up, Teresa? Um, but if anybody does want to come up, that's fine. But otherwise, I mean, I think I'm probably going to cut it short. Well, I mean, not short. Been 3 hours or something like that sitting here talking. But I mean, I don't know. Um, I love having those type of conversations and stuff like that. Going down those type of holes and stuff. Because I mean, I know that politics and religion to me are subjects that are considered taboo in a lot of ways, but I think they are the ones that really affect all of us individually and personally. And we all have our own path to walk. And what works for you works for you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to down you for what works for you. I have my own views on certain things, and I know my views. Excuse me. I know my views are not always popular, um, but I'm not trying to convince people of my views either. Um, I like I like I like telling stories on a lot of ways, because sometimes I can get my point across through a story, Um, you know, that's one of the things that I've learned from some of the native peoples here in America. Um, that's how they would teach their young children about certain things. Um, they'd tell them stories, about the eagle or about the bear or something like that, and that was the best way to teach the young. But anyway, um, and also it's also something that we can explore, when it comes down to certain things. It's like everybody's got this own, very very rigid and very um, set in their belief systems. And I worry about, well, I wouldn't say I worry about it. I'm concerned about um what will happen if these beliefs all, and these bubbles of beliefs and stuff get bursted one day, and what that psychologically is going to do to people's minds. You know, I mean, it's kind of like that I3 Atlas thing out there. If it's just a rock, or is it actually a spaceship from somewhere else? If it's a spaceship from somewhere else, dude, I wonder what people's religious beliefs are going to start being about then. Um, because that would just contradict their religious beliefs if that is actually a real thing. If it's just a rock, it's just a rock. But I'm not discounting the possibility of beings from another place um, that have been here, that are here, and may still be coming back. Um, you know, um, it's quite honestly, it's a possibility, probable. It's possible and probable that those beings that were called gods and angels and demons and stuff like that were actually just beings from another place other than Earth. And there's a good possibility they could come back, or it's probably most likely as possible that they are here, and they have been here for a long time, but there's also some that left, and they're going to come back. And I wonder if people are going to look at these beings from another place and think they are gods. They're going to be like gods to us because they're going to be able to do things that aren't able to do. You know, but if a flying saucer lands in my front yard, I'm going to go out there and steal the motherfucker and take it for a spin. That's how I see it. So, you know, I think I'd probably much rather deal with aliens versus all these fucking evil fuckers out here trying to rule over us and be the masters of the universe. These evil fuckers. I mean, because quite honestly, man, that's another thing too I was talking about earlier. Um, for many centuries, for thousands of years, the people that have been trying to lead people to freedom have been murdered. I think that needs to be reversed. I'm so sick and tired of the people that all through history that are trying to lead people to freedom get murdered by these fucking evil fuckers. It's time to reverse that. So we can be free people again. And that's what I want for my future generations. I want our future generations to be free people, not living in this dystopian fucking hellhole. I don't want this planet to be considered hell. I don't want, in the biblical sense, I don't want Satan ruling over us. Um, it's time to reverse that and put that evil in a cage where it belongs, or in the ground. Anyway, I guess I'm going to go ahead and cut it down. I appreciate everybody that came in and hung out hung out for a little while. Y'all have a good one out there. This is the 1122 Wingnut Radio out here for Anarchy Television, and I'm out.